Just for you, the listeners of Podcast Fandom, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial. Just go to audibletrial.com/podcastfandom. There are over 100,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. That's audibletrial.com/podcastfandom for your free audiobook download. Hey guys, welcome to Podcast Fandom, the official podcast for Project Fandom.com. I'm your host, Nina.
I am Megan.
And I am John.
And we are back to discuss Game of Thrones, Season 4, Episode 10, The Children. This was the 4th season finale. We got a little bit of extra footage last night. It went over by about 6 or 7 minutes, which was cool because we got shorted last week. So before we jump into what we normally do, which is, give our general thoughts and then go through the whole episode, we have a lot of feedback. There are a couple of things I want to address and get out of the way. I want to give everyone a reminder, or yes, I'm going to remind everybody who listens regularly, but just in case we have some new listeners this week, I've read the books. John and Megan have not. I do not discuss spoilers in terms of things that are going to happen in the book that can ruin the show for you. So if you've not read the books and you want to remain unsullied, do not worry about that. I will point out differences here and there, like this didn't happen in the book this way. If it's something that's already passed, and I'm about 99% sure it's, not going to come up again, it's not going to spoil anything going forward. However, at the end of the episode, at the end of this podcast, when you hear our outro music, after that, I come back to discuss spoilers. I have several emails. I have a lot of spoiler emails to read this week from listeners who have read the books who want to talk about some things from last week's episode and from last night's episode. So if you have read the books and you really want to dig into that kind of conversation, just stick around after the outro music. Or if you haven't read the books and you just don't give a shit about spoilers, it's a pretty interesting, there's some interesting stuff going to be talked about in this spoiler section. So I'm actually really excited about it. So, but if you do want to discuss spoilers with me for Game of Thrones, we are doing end of season podcast where we talk about the season as a whole. We're going to record that later in the week, and you can email me personally at nina@projectfandom.com. That's NINA at projectfandom.com, and I will read that spoilery feedback on our end of season podcast in the spoiler section for that. Let's see. So like I said, we are going to be doing an end of season review for this season. I'm really excited. It's going to be me, John, and Megan. We're going to be joined by Natasha from Unspoiled Podcast. She is spoiled. She has read all the books, and actually her podcast format is, every episode she talked about each chapter with her husband who, hadn't read the book. So it's really interesting. But she will be having some non-spoilery discussion of this season with us. And then she and I will probably be doing the spoiler section on our end of season review podcast together. On that podcast, I'm going to announce Tweet of the Week. If you've been following us along all season, you know that every Sunday night while Game of Thrones was on, we did a live tweet of the episode, used the hashtag PFGOT. And every week I picked a tweet that I thought was particularly funny or awesome, and that person gets Tweet of the Week. At the end of the season, which is now, we're going to do a random drawing of all the people that won, and one person will win a Game of Thrones t-shirt from our Zazzle store. So that's going to be on the end of the season review podcast. And one more thing. We're currently hosting a contest on Facebook. It's called The Blank of Blank and Blank. And what it is you give us your thoughts on a clever book title for a book, an upcoming book in the Song of Ice and Fire series. And everyone at Project Fandom, the contributors, will vote on the entries. And the person who comes up with the most clever title, or the title we think is the best, will get to choose between 5 Funko Pop vinyl figures for Game of Thrones. John, is that what they're called?
Yes.
Okay. I can't remember what all 5 of them are, but there's a Arya, a White Walker, Ygritte.
Jon Snow and Tyrion.
Okay. Yeah.
And Hodor. Hodor was another one.
Okay. Oh, yeah. 6. So you get to choose one of 6. So, so I'm going to announce the winner of that on the podcast. And then there's one more thing. Oh, there's going to be a fun poll that we're putting up tomorrow, which is Tuesday, June 17th. So whenever you're listening to this, between then and like Friday morning, you can go to our Facebook page and take this poll. And it's just going to ask you questions about the 4th season as a whole. We thought it'd be really cool to read the results of that on our end of season podcast and see what people as a whole, thought of certain things that happened this season, your most favorite scene, least favorite, things like that. So, I think that's it. Nope, I'm sorry, one more thing. Gosh, there's so much going on this week. So, I am also going to be a guest on the Black Guy Who Tips podcast tomorrow. They actually do their podcast live, which scares the shit out of me because I didn't know that, and I don't know why I didn't know that. I didn't realize that they actually, and then there's like a live chat and stuff. So they asked me to come back to talk about Game of Thrones, which I'll be doing Tuesday night. I think it's like around 5 p.m. Eastern. So I'm really looking forward to that. So if you don't get enough of me talking about this episode tonight, there's another place you can find us. And then, I think I mentioned this before, but I'm also co-hosting a couple of, Bald Move podcasts covering the 2nd season of Orange is the New Black. If you go to iTunes or Stitcher and search for Orange is the New Cast, you'll find it. And right now there's one episode up talking about season 2, episode 1, and it's co-hosted by yours truly. And I happen to think it's pretty cool. So if you want to check that out. Yeah. And tonight they're actually recording the podcast for episode 2. And I think I'm coming back for episodes like 6 and 11 or something like that. So, okay, now I do think that is all the other business. I got that out of the way. So, John, what did you think of this season finale?
It was awesome. I was waiting so long to say that.
I know, like 5 minutes of show business. Go ahead.
I loved it. I love, especially the ending, of course, because that's exactly what I wanted to happen. Mm-hmm. I wanted Jaime to do that, and I wanted Tyrion to do that, and then that's exactly what I wanted to happen. I don't know what the hell's going to happen next, but I love the way that it ended. I love that.
Okay, Megan?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was just incredible from start to finish. I've said this before, they do like the beginning, they show like what's possibly going to be talked about in the episode. I'm like, this episode's going to be so full. I'm not sure how they're going to cram all of this shit into like 62 minutes or whatever it was. It was so good. The one thing I did not want to happen was to have Tyrion die. That's like the one thing. Like, I didn't give a shit about anybody else. I didn't even care. But so the way that played out, I thought was excellent. Totally surprised me. And I've watched it, I think, 4 times now.
Yeah, I've watched it quite a few times. Okay, before I give my thoughts, we jump into the recap. I just want to point out that we're having some technical difficulties. I'm sure you've heard it. It's like a slight echo here and there. And I really don't want to put out shitty quality, so I'm going to apologize ahead of time if it happens. We're just going to keep talking and see how it goes, but I just want to apologize to our listeners ahead of time, because if we get a lot of it done and it's relatively smooth with just a few echoes, I may just leave it, because like you heard at the top of the show, I got a lot of shit going on this week and between doing other podcasts and stuff, and this is really the only time we could be able to get together and do this and still do the end of season wrap up cast at the end of the week. So it's kind of now or never. So we may be forced to, leave in some of these echoes, and hopefully it won't, be too much. So apologize to our regular listeners. If you're new, the quality is not normally like this. Okay, so I really, really enjoyed it. I loved it. I loved it a lot. I know that there was one kind of, for people who've read the books, major omission at what we kind of all assumed would be the end of the season finale. And it is a huge deal in terms of story. And there are some things that they've not included, which we'll actually talk about some of that as we get into it, because I'm, like, again, 99.9% sure that it's never going to show up because they've kind of passed like this window for it to happen. And I'm, generally okay with that. Like, I don't think you guys have really heard me gripe this season about changes or things left out, because I think they've all been for the best. But this one is really fucking huge and really, really disappointing. And I have some thoughts on why they probably did it. And if it's something that they'll do next season, then I'm less bothered by this. But I am a bit disappointed. And I know a lot of book readers who love the show and love the season. It's kind of like having a really good meal and then your dessert sucks. And it's like, wait a minute, that's what I feel like. It's like, I want to give you guys like a 10 out of 10, but I'm reserving that because hopefully they'll rectify it in season 5. If they don't, I just don't know what the hell they're thinking, because it's just a crazy thing not to include. So other than that, I can't wait for season 5, and I have a lot of stuff to talk about in the spoiler section. So let's get into it. So, okay, this episode began right...
And can I just ask, will you talk about that omission in the spoiler section only?
Yes.
Okay.
I can't. So there's no way I could talk about it here proper without totally giving it away. And honestly, like, I was scrolling through my Facebook newsfeed earlier, about an hour or so ago. And I have a group on Facebook. It's just Game of Thrones book readers. And I saw something from a reputable, I'll say it, Entertainment Weekly. And I know they have a really good relationship with the show. Like, they get the episodes well in advance, because I think his name is James Hibbert. He does the recaps. His shit is up the minute the show is over. And they're long and detailed. So he's getting the episodes, at least a week in advance. And then they have all of these interviews, like, you know what I mean? Like, clearly stuff that they did before, while the shooting was going on. So they have high level access to the show. And they posted something talking about the omission and saying what it was. And the times that I've referred to it on Facebook, I use initials, that there's no fucking way you could figure it out unless you've already been spoiled. But they talk about it in the headline, and then they use a photo.
Oh no.
They use a photo with, like, the person it's referring. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? And
basically, you have to stay off Instagram, you have to stay off Twitter, or you cannot be online.
It's just so, and I'm not one of those, like, complain about spoiler type people, because I know it's like, it was a book. The books are really old. It's not everybody's fault. But I would think a news organization or an entertainment organization with such high level access would at least have somebody running their social media who understands what this post is going to look like on Facebook. And you could have used a different title. You don't make the fucking first paragraph of your article be the metadata that's on there. And you don't use a photo of the fucking character. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? So it was just... So yeah, I would love to talk about it with you guys in a way that won't spoil it for you, but I don't know how. So it's going to have to wait till the spoiler section. Okay, so this episode started right where last week's left off. We see Jon walking to the wildling camp to meet with Mance. They go inside Mance's tent and they talk about the fact that Ygritte is dead. We learned that the giant that went through the tunnel, who never came out, was called Mag the Mighty. And Mance learns from Jon that he's dead and that he killed his friend Gren. And they drink in their honor for Ygritte, Gren, and Mag. And then Jon learns that, he was right, because he said last week that he was telling Sam that what that attack was last night was a testing of their forces. And Mance says, yeah, when I showed up with 100,000 people at your gate and you guys immediately attacked on us with, like, these arrows and stuff. He was like, I knew that you didn't have the numbers you said you did. So he sent 400 wildlings to scale the wall about 5 miles away. And he goes, some of them won't make it, but most of them by nightfall will scale the walls.
Right.
And we know that they're so spread thin, they're not manning any other place along that wall but Castle Black.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, and more importantly, Mance knows that.
Right. So what he wants is...
Sorry, but I really liked that I really loved when he said the giant was the king of giants. Mm-hmm. His lineage goes back for centuries or whatever. And then Jon Snow was just like, yeah, well, Brienne came from a farm.
Yeah.
I love that. He has balls of steel now. Yeah. I love it.
So Mance wants access to basically, their side of the wall. He's like, this isn't about conquering. Like, he's not trying to go over there and be the king of Westeros. He just wants safety he wants safety for his people, and he doesn't want any more death. And then Jon has eyed this knife nearby one too many times, and he realizes that Jon was there to, try and kill him. So I'm going to stop here. Because before anything can really come of this confrontation, there's horns and, shit goes on outside the tent. So before we move outside the tent, what did you guys think of this overall?
I mean, I really liked their conversation. Like, he was very straightforward with them. And, I mean, we had talked about this before. Like, we weren't sure if he knew that Jon Snow had gone back to the wall, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so I just really appreciated that whole conversation in general. I liked how they drank a toast to their deaths. And I was just like, that's really very civil of you, Mance. Like,
yeah. And I like that he started the conversation with, he's very trustworthy, mm-hmm. his habit of just being, trusting people too quickly, kind of bit him in the butt this time. And he was hoping that it wouldn't, like he was hoping that Jon was kind of true to his word. But I think I said before, like maybe last week or the week before, that I like when there's conflict, but both sides have valid points. And so it's mm-hmm. like, it's more interesting than us just saying, well, we like Jon Snow, so we want to root for him. But I felt like what Mance was saying made a lot of sense. He's like, you and I know that winter is coming. And when it gets here proper, like, in earnest, our people, the rights, Yeah,
they're simply not safe unless we can get into that tunnel.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's like, no more people have to die. None of my people, none of your people. But the problem mm-hmm. is, I don't know about you guys, but I was like, yeah, there's no fucking way Jon can go back with those terms. And people like, Alliser or Janos Slynt, or even the realm itself. Like, if they fucking find out that they were like, sure, all of you wildlings.
Reach the wall, no problem.
Yes.
Out here for hundreds of years. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I think that Jon Snow may have been able to convince, like, the other guys that were in the Black, the other Watchers. I think he could have convinced them, but just not the people who are in charge. Because he's someone who has a lot of influence.
Yeah, like, but I think that, yeah, there's some, like, if he went, well, shit, I was going to say, like
Sam.
Yeah. Sam doesn't count.
That's what I'm saying. Like those levels is what I mean.
Yeah, Sam doesn't count.
I totally believed Mance here. Like, I believed him about the peace talks. Like, he was peaceful. But I agree. Like, there's no way that Jon Snow could have accepted it. There's just no way.
Yeah, it wasn't gonna. And I mean, you kind of got the impression that he wanted to, but yeah, it wasn't gonna happen. But so in my notes for the scene, I love how matter of fact Mance was. I love that Jon was right, that he was testing their numbers. I like the fact that we saw the dead giant, and it was literally a feast for crows, which is the name of one of the books.
Wait, yeah, okay, I didn't think about that actually.
Yeah, I think the second book is called A Feast for Crows. Or shit, maybe it's the fourth. I don't know. I get them all mixed up. But anyway, yeah. So there's that giant lying there dead, and there's all these crows all over him. And then the fact that they drank to Ygritte and Mag and Gren, and I love that it was really strong. And Jon's like, this isn't wine. And
this isn't Pinot Grigio. He's like, no. His fancy ass does not get a nice, white wine. This is some real shit.
And he didn't even say, what he just said, this is a drink, a real drink, like a northern drink. And I'm like, what, it's like mammoth piss? Like, what the fuck could it have been?
Mance in this episode really felt like a character that would have been perfect for Dennis Hopper. Like, it felt like that Dennis Hopper would have really played that character well.
You know who I think they wanted, but he wasn't available. And I think a lot of book readers had just assumed that it would be him, and then it kind of fell through. But the guy who played McNulty on The Wire.
Oh.
Yeah, and in the books, he's not this old. So when McNulty fell through and they cast this guy, we were like, what? That's not Mance. He doesn't look like Mance. But I think he's doing a really good job. But he's just not what I think most people envision. And clearly he wasn't their first choice. But there was a lot of complaints about last week's episode about not really feeling like they understood why the wildlings were doing this and that they cared. And I like that. I think this actor is really capable because in just a few short scenes that he had in this episode, I think it felt real and it made sense. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's no eye rolling like, oh, that doesn't make sense. Like, it made sense. Like, he's like, listen, this is how I got them to believe in me because I told them the truth. We're all going to fucking die if we don't get across that wall. So, and we know you guys ain't going to just open the gates for us. So we don't want to die. So if we have to kill some of you to try to live, that's what we'll do. And I just really respected that. Okay, so the horns outside signal that shit's getting real, and Mance at first thinks that it's Jon's men attacking, and Jon's like, you just said we don't have the numbers. Like,
He's like, you're right, there's only like 10 of us left. Like,
yeah, exactly. He's like, 9, I'm here. So, oh yeah, and one more thing I want to point out, Megan, I'm glad you said that, because I did ask, I was like, I don't even know if, you know, we were like, this is a bad plan. They're not going to let you within 100 feet of him. But it's like, but if he doesn't know that you were a traitor, you could pretend like you snuck away and that you're attacked or whatever. But when you walk over there with your cloak on, your Night's Watch cloak, I love that that's the first thing Mance pointed out, you know?
Yeah, black's not your color, friend.
Yeah.
And so, I love that Jon Snow didn't take it off, too.
Yeah.
Because he was very loyal still.
Well, it's cold.
So I think it's more important that he's loyal.
So Stannis, so we see like these guys on horseback and they're flanking the wildling camp and they're, you know, riding in on horses and slicing people up with swords and they're carrying these yellow flags and it's Stannis. Yeah. So this is, I was like so surprised that, I don't know if you two didn't know that this was what this was about, but like all season I kept waiting for one of you to say it. So, like, all this stuff is going on at the wall, and we're worried because Alistair won't seal the tunnel, and all of this stuff, and I kept waiting for one of you.
You're waiting for one of us to predict that Stannis would, like, barge in and intercept?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, the second I saw like this massive collection of an army coming, I knew it was Stannis. Okay, it had to be.
Okay, but here's the thing: you would be surprised.
You know what? You know what's going to happen next week? Stannis is going to barge in there, and okay.
I just
heard me say it. I predicted it right now.
Okay, well, when I was on the Black Eye Who Tips podcast, it was the same thing. I was just like, they were like, I don't know what this, because this was the Mountain and the Viper one, and I was just like, you know, there's not a lot I can say because I read the books and they hadn't, and you know, it's not a show for spoilers. Like they don't even do a spoiler section. And I was like, I just will say this: I'm so shocked that nobody has called it. Like nobody has said anything, and I thought it. Especially because the way the last season ended, where it was just like Davos learned to read and he read that letter and then he convinced this and Melisandre burned it, and she made a big point of saying the battle in King's Landing will have to wait. This is more important. This is where we need to be. And then this whole season has been about them getting the money to do it, and nobody was saying, when will Stannis get there? What? Like I was just so shocked that nobody called it. When I was reading the books, we were waiting for it, but you did feel like it wasn't going to happen, and it happened a little bit differently. But anyway, it's Stannis, and
I thought that it was. I mean, I thought he was on his way. I just didn't know when it was going to happen. I mean, I didn't think it was. I didn't think it was something that was going to be as big as it was in this episode.
Yeah,
I just thought he was just going to show up one day. I just thought that was, you know.
No, I mean, and then and that's the thing, like, you know, he's had the money for like 3 episodes now, and I just kept waiting for somebody to say, they got the money, they got this, they got the pirates, like, when are they going to get there? And I was like, if they're not saying it, I'm not leading them. So, yeah, and even last night, I mean, I've been in some Game of Thrones groups, and there are people saying, how does Stannis know to go to the wall? And I'm like, are you people serious? Like, seriously, what have y'all been watching? So, but yeah, it's Stannis. Mance surrenders because he doesn't want any more of his men to die. And John, obviously he has to be introduced, and John introduces himself as Ned's son. And Stannis wants his opinion on what should be done with Mance. Like, what would your dad do? And John says, I think we should hold him and hear what he has to say.
Right.
Yeah, I love that. I love that because he's like, this guy could have tortured me and he didn't. Mm-hmm. And then Stannis was like, that made sense because Stannis is a by the book guy. He listens to people. I like that.
He is, and so is Jon Snow. But like, I also I felt like there's that part of me that's like, I think I put it on Twitter, like, you don't do what Starks do. The what would Stark do method, like, that's a really bad bracelet to wear. Like,
that's a good point.
I enjoyed this scene more than I even thought it was possible because I liked Jon Snow talking to Stannis Baratheon. Like, for some reason, it felt very nice. It kind of felt like he was talking to his dad. I mean, it felt like there was reverence there.
It did. It sort of brought it back to like a few seasons ago or something. Like, it was like a cyclical thing. Like, I'm like, okay, now we're back to this now.
Yeah. I think this episode, and I mean, it's not so much that I can say as a book reader without, ruining some stuff for people, but the one thing that has struck me reading the books is like how much the main cast they don't interact with each other. And so I think it's really weird to see pictures of like Lena Headey, who is Cersei, with Kit Harington, like chilling out on Instagram. And it's like I don't think they've even had a scene together. Other than the greeting in the very first episode.
The very first episode, maybe he was at the greeting. I don't even remember.
Matter of fact, I don't think he was. I think it was
a bastard.
Yeah,
so.
He might not have been in that lineup. But anyway, so this, when the fact that he didn't even know that was Stannis Baratheon, when Davos had to say who it was, you can see that it affected Jon. And, so that whole scene of them talking together, I really like that because it's, again, characters that we don't get to see interacting. I like the overhead shots showing the formation of the guys on horses.
Really awesome, yeah.
Yeah.
They put some money into this episode.
They did. And I love the fact that, I mean, I don't get it. Like, it's a business decision, clearly, but the fact that this show still has budget restraints, which, I mean, I guess makes sense. Because it's your most watched show, your most popular show, clearly. And clearly the network is making money on it. That doesn't mean then you just decide to sink, a shit ton of money in every episode just because maybe you can. Maybe, you have to have a budget. There's a reason that things cost.
Not every episode can be like an IMAX production.
Exactly. But what I love is that I think with this season in particular, and then when you go back and watch the first, second, third season, how economical they are in terms of fighting scenes. Like, the second season, all of Robb's battles, we never saw them. We never saw Robb's men fighting in the field.
Oh, yeah. And we never saw Tyrion. Tyrion got knocked out in that one battle.
Yeah.
And he was just carried on a stretcher.
But then at the end of the season, you have Blackwater. At the end of the season, you have the Watchers on the Wall. And so you feel better about where the money goes. And then you get the dragons every now and again. So, yeah. I like that Mance wouldn't kneel. He was like, we don't kneel. And I like that Stannis kind of respected that, and he said, like, listen, by nightfall, I'm going to have thousands of your men in chains, thousands of your people, in chains with really nowhere to put them.
Or feed them.
And nothing to feed them. We're not here to beat whip dogs. Like, we're not. So what are you going to do? And he was like, that's fine. Well, I'll come with you, but I'm not kneeling.
He's like, but my spine's staying straight.
Yeah. He's like, this ain't Westeros. This ain't the Seven Kingdoms, and you're not dressed properly.
I love that.
Yeah. And then one thing I want to point before we move on, I love that there was that one guy who didn't get the stand down memo, because there was this really great scene where things kind of went in slow motion a little bit. Not really in slow motion, but like inside Mance's head, you could feel like it slowed down. He was really taking everything in. And for me, you could see the frustration. Like, he's not doing this to send people to die. He's doing this to try to save a whole, like nearly 100 tribe of people. And, I love that he was just like, okay, this has got to stop. And he tells them all to stand down. But then when Mance and Davos are walking up, this one guy comes running up.
One dude just like woke up and he's like, oh shit, we're battling? All right, here we go. And like, he took him out.
I know. It was like, Go ahead, John.
When he came out, he was like, when I said I didn't want any more of my people to die, I meant it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I liked that because he had told John that,
Yeah.
and so you knew he was telling the truth. He didn't want his people to die anymore.
Okay, so we're gonna move into the next scene. Again, I'll probably do this a couple of times. I'm gonna apologize for the echoes, you guys. I don't know what else to do. Okay, so now we're at King's Landing, and Sir Gregor lives. So this answers the question. From 2 weeks ago, I was very surprised that people thought he was dead. And yeah, so clear he's alive, but he's poisoned. Mm-hmm. And Qyburn wants to save him via some unorthodox methods, but Pycelle doesn't agree. And it doesn't really matter what he thinks because Cersei basically takes away his lab and tells him to leave and gives Qyburn permission to do whatever it is he's going to do. She's all for it as long as it doesn't weaken him. Mm-hmm. And the scene ends with a very crude,
like a bloodletting.
Yeah, a very crude, dirty,
like a transfusion going on.
Yeah,
there.
Yeah.
I don't know what he means by he's going to be changed. Like I thought of 3 people. I thought of Orson, and I thought of a White Walker, and I thought of Hodor. And I was like, those are the only 3 people I can think of.
I thought of Pet Cemetery.
I don't know. Will he wake up and just be like mountain? Like that's the only thing he can say. I don't know.
I can't say.
Yeah,
it was a very Pet Cemetery vibe to me. Like, well, he'll be changed, but he's worth saving because he won't be weak.
And she said
he'll be like a Cersei's puppet, just her murdering puppet. Like I don't know what that.
It was almost like he was saying he would be stronger.
Oh yeah.
Because she was like, will he be weaker? And he's like, oh no, he won't.
Yeah.
Like he was saying, no, he's gonna be even stronger than that.
Yeah, I think that is exactly it. That not just the fact that he said no, but he was just like, oh no, like he was like really looking forward to it. And I think again, I don't feel like this is spoilery because this is shit that they've said in other episodes, but I know that a lot of people, stuff goes over people's heads, but they have talked about a couple of times why Qyburn is, why he was kicked out of the Citadel, what type of quote unquote medicine and experiments he was known to do. So I think just to play it safe, because I don't want people to say, oh, she told us what's going to happen. The show told you what's going to happen. I just have a feeling like a lot of people don't, catch all the little things like that. So if you want to go back, particularly to the episodes after Jaime's hand got cut off, because remember, Qyburn, where did we meet Qyburn? Do you guys remember who he was with first?
I remember his sister Jaime, but...
Yeah, Roose. So that should just tell you right there.
Oh, that's some trouble right there.
Yeah, so when Roose came and found out that they had Brienne and Jaime, and, his guy Locke had cut off his hand, that's when he set them down and he got them all cleaned up and he had Qyburn tend to him. And then Qyburn was escorting them back to King's Landing to make sure that Jaime didn't get infected, just take care of him on the way. So if you watch that episode, I think it's The Bear and the Maiden Fair, where Jaime ends up going back to save Brienne from the fight with the bear. He and Qyburn are leaving, and he's tending to Jaime's hand, and he talks about some of the stuff that he did and how they didn't quite agree with his methods. Okay, so also in this scene, so this is the other thing where, I felt like I got a little spoilery very early in the season, but not Stannis, Tywin had brought it up when he was talking to Oberyn, wondering if he had poisoned Joffrey when he came to the brothel. And we know that he studied poisons. He actually studied to be a maester and got a couple of links and stuff before he got bored with it. But he's called the Red Viper because when he was either 15 or 16, he was caught in bed with another man's woman. And the man challenged him to a duel, and apparently there are different types of duels, and this one was to first blood. So the first person to draw blood wins. And I believe the guy, the husband or whatever, they both nicked each other. And I think it was considered a draw. But that guy's wounds festered, and he died. And from then on, since Oberyn was like 15 or 16, they called him the Red Viper because they think that he was that he had poisoned his blade.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a little book history on Oberyn, which means nothing going forward because he's dead. But there is a cool if you go back and look at the Mountain and the Viper, when Tyrion's upset with Oberyn because he's drinking and he won't wear the helmet, you see the his squire, Oberyn's squire, is wiping down the blade with something.
Okay.
Yeah. So, okay. But I like the fact that these wounds were stinky. They were all covering their face.
Ugh, that was so gross.
So yeah, and I think they mentioned in the scene that it was manticore venom.
Yes.
What is a manticore? Is that like a sting, like a jellyfish stingray ocean creature?
I'm not sure if it's a real creature at all. If it is, I've never heard of it.
I feel like I've heard it before, but maybe it's
A
not.
manticore?
Yeah, it's like cryptozoology, I think. It's like a Bigfoot or something.
Really?
I think. I don't know. Don't quote me on that.
All right. Okay.
I'm gonna quote you on that.
I was going to say, we're going to put that
Oh, don't you do it.
Okay, so the next scene is Cersei must be feeling really good about her life and her life decisions. She took a chance on the mountain. Oberyn's dead. Her brother's head's going to be cut off the next day. So she's really feeling herself. She got on her big girl clothes and she goes to her daddy and she tells him she is not marrying Sir Loras. She's staying at King's Landing where she belongs with her son, the king. And if he tries to stop her, she will tell, because he's like, you are not the first woman dragged into the sept to be forced to be married. And she tells him, if you do that, I will tell everyone about me and Jaime. And she basically confronts him with the fact that all the rumors about her and Jaime are true, and he doesn't want to believe it.
I do like that she said. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, in the conversation with Tywin and Jaime, when he was negotiating for Tyrion's release or whatever, didn't we decide that Tywin sounded like he knew?
Because he said, you will father children whose last names are Lannister.
Yeah, I thought of that. And I was like, maybe he knows, but with Cersei, he's pretending to not know.
Because I really think that that's what it was, because that was her trump card, and I don't think he would be the type of person that's going to sit there and he's going to put on a poker face. You slam down your trump card and he's going to act like that shit doesn't even faze him. And for him to act like he doesn't believe it and that she's just saying that, I think would give him, well, we know at the end of the episode he's dead, but I think if he hadn't died, I think that would have just given him time. Honestly, I always thought, having read the books, that at some point he probably would have had her killed. And so when this scene was happening, and I knew what was going to happen later, I was like, okay, clearly it's not going to, I don't think the show would deviate that way. But when she was doing that and she walked out, it felt very much to me like when we watch, like a police drama and the person threatens the really powerful person. And it's like, what are you thinking? You don't do the threat and then walk out the room.
Yeah, we also do Heroes, and a moment just like that just happened in one of the episodes.
Exactly. So, because I was thinking too, girl, he doesn't need you. As long as he has Tommen, who's the king, and he's the hand of the king, he doesn't need the Queen Regent. Why, and that's the other thing. It felt like, because so let's talk about, there's some serious implications here, because if she were to do that, and we'll talk about what she tells Jaime in the next scene. If she were to do that, it's kind of like he would have to either shut her up or go along with it and just let her stay in King's Landing, because if she were to do that, they lose everything. Because I don't think the realm is already, Stannis is already challenging. I don't think people don't like the Lannisters anyway, and the only reason that they support them and fall in line is because they have the power right now. But if she's walking around blatantly telling people that Tommen is Jaime's son, they would string them all up. And
they're completely in debt. They're in so much debt. They can't even pay back the bank.
Yeah.
They're totally fucked. If she that is the one thing that as John would say is a bridge too far. It's all right, you were in debt. We can forgive that. But, oh please, really? There's your brother's sons. No, we're not putting up with this shit anymore. And then you're done.
But it would have been interesting though to see what would have happened, how Tywin would have responded. Because then, I think he would have pretended like she was going crazy, and then he would have tried to tell everyone that she was insane
and have her locked up.
Yeah, something like that.
But Cersei was very right. She's like, you and Marjorie will put your hooks in him and try and tear him to shreds, and you'll try to control him this way. She'll try to control him that way, and I'll be sent off with Loras, who as we know, is
And
related to Cersei.
And oddly
And
enough,
if
I believe her that it's less about being Queen Regent and just being
Yeah,
there and in the because honestly, she doesn't really have any power.
right.
Even if she stays, even if he called it and called her a bluff or whatever, or gave in to her, I mean, and let her stay. Um, Marjorie will still be his wife, and Tywin would still be the hand of the king. And I think that they would have more influence. It'd be like one in one ear and one in the other. I don't think that she would have a lot of power. I did believe her, and that it was more about not being forced to marry somebody else and be away from her son because
Yes.
she's now down two kids. And the other thing that they did not bring up, which I could not believe it wasn't even a mention, when she said Marcella has been sold off like cattle or some shit. I'm like, yeah, and the prince of the people who have your daughter just died.
Yeah, like that. I was like, oh, well, how is that going to play out? I'm like, what's going to happen when they find out they crushed his head in?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I don't mind that we didn't see Ilaria and all that. I don't think we needed to see that.
Yeah,
Like, I think her
no.
reaction when it happened told us pretty much like the state of her being for the rest of her fucking life. But I would think that they would be like, okay, great. How we go back and tell them that their prince is dead? Who's gonna send that fucking raven? And they got our, my granddaughter. So,
But
okay, so
I don't think that Cersei cares about her daughter though as much as she cares about her son. Like I don't think she does.
Oh, I disagree.
yeah, I was gonna say that's not true.
Well, I don't it because I don't know. I think it's true. I think because otherwise I think she would have thought about that. What
No,
you just
that's her only little girl, and she was like, her marriage to like Robert Baratheon was like complete bullshit. I feel like she totally feels slighted that her daughter was sent
Yeah,
off,
and you got to
especially
remember.
by her brother that she hates.
I was just going to say, and you got to remember that is pretty much what started all this was the fact that he sent Marcella away, even though he told her it's for the best. She didn't see it that way because Cersei's fucking paranoid, especially when it comes to
but I
Tyrion. And this is everything she did to get him was about sending off her daughter. I wholeheartedly disagree that she doesn't care about. She cared that I
no
think that they I was going to say, I
I
think that
think
they've proven that she does seriously care about those kids. And I believed her when she said, he's my last boy, you know?
I believe
yeah.
her back when she
It's
told
for
Ned Stark, like, I love my children. Like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
believe her way back then.
Hmm.
So,
I honestly, to me, what has happened and the events of the series make me feel like she doesn't care about her daughter as much as her sons. And now she only has one son left, and she cares more about that. To me, that's what it seems like. And I think everything about Tyrion sending her away, I think that she was more upset that it was Tyrion than it was her daughter. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like because it was Tyrion, I feel like she went after him because it was him, and less because he sent her daughter away.
Okay. So let's see. Where are we? Okay. So then she goes to Jamie in the Kingsguard quarters, and she tells him that she told their father. She says that she doesn't care if people know. And then they have sex on the table. She doesn't care if somebody walks in.
whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
This is
I'm
not
like,
from
really?
the
All
books.
right.
Yeah, this is not from the books. This is so like the opposite from the books. Is insane, but I'm okay with it. I really liked her acting in this scene, and I love the line when she was talking about because it is something I wondered about because if not for the claim to the throne, it didn't really seem like that big of a deal for them to go public with their relationship and the parentage of those kids. It's all about the claim to the throne. And her attitude now is this is why I disagree that she cares, she cares more about her sons because it's tied to the throne. Because now her attitude is, I don't give a fuck. I will tell everybody you are not going to keep telling me what to do and telling me where to go and, and moving my kids around like chess pieces. And
Yeah.
she's like, and I think that I was a little surprised that she had this attitude knowing that they're in debt. But I think that she is, for her to say, they will laugh and snicker. And she goes, they're all so small, I don't even see them. I love that line, and I thought that really kind of summed her up,
Yeah.
and it made me believe her attitude towards this whole thing. Like that's what I'm saying. If it wasn't for the crown, I think I would truly believe that the Lannisters are powerful enough and big enough that people would snicker and laugh, but they damn sure wouldn't do it to their faces.
Also, when she was talking to Tywin, she had the line where she said, I'm not, he was telling a story about when he was going to King's Landing or something, and she was like, look, I'm not interested in like another smug story where you're the one that won.
Yeah, because
like,
that's not going to happen this time.
She's like, because this time I'm putting my fucking foot down.
Yes.
And that's it.
I'm surprised that the scene between Cersei and Jaime is not in the book, because I felt like that scene was necessary. Because I thought, like I said, like if she did go public, I felt like Tywin would try to turn everyone against her, and I think that that scene was necessary for her to make sure Jaime was still on her side.
Oh no, she is totally making sure he is still on her side. But I think it was. I mean, it's all moot now because Tywin's dead. But I think it was about having him on her side because she was seriously going to do it, and she did not care, and she knew that it meant losing the throne. Because there's no fucking way they could hold on to that, that title if they admit that kid is not a Baratheon. And yeah, it is not in the books. Like the relationship is totally different at this point.
I felt like she needed him. Like she needed him. Like if she did do that, she needed him to back her up, because otherwise it would just be her against everyone else's word.
Yeah. So okay, now we're in Marine, and there's an elderly man. Daenerys is granting audience, and this former slave comes in. Like I said, he's elderly. He wants to go back to his master.
He's like, thanks a lot for those mess halls. That's fucked up out there.
Yeah.
The struggle is real.
He's living on the streets. He's not respected. When he was a slave to his master, like he taught his master's children, so he was a teacher. He had some esteem, and she is resistant at first, but she eventually agrees to let him sign a 1-year contract with his former master, and Barristan Selmy warns her that the masters will take advantage, that these people will be slaves in always but name. So the guy is dismissed with, being told, sure, you can go back and be into service. What kind of drove me crazy with this, there were two things. But I'm okay with it because it is her character, because she's done it several times. But when people are talking to her and she says something where you can tell she thinks it should be the end of the conversation, and they're like, but with all due respect, your grace, blah, blah, blah. And they bring up a really good, like, she gets annoyed. Like, and so when he was just like, she says something about the mess halls or something, and he goes, yeah, but even if you, and she says, my Unsullied will go and make sure that they're safe. I promise you, my friend. And I noticed that she always calls these people that come in here her friend. My friend. She did it to the guy whose goat was killed. So she...
That's politics right there.
Yeah, and he says, okay, but even if they do make the mess, but who am I? Like, that still doesn't give me a place in society
she always still sort of like questions, like, why are you questioning me?
Yeah, because she's like, you should want this. You should want this freedom. And I love the fact that she is learning that it's not as simple as, oh, you're free now, thank you, and that she's understanding that, okay, when it comes to ruling, like, there's things that have to be addressed, like, what do you do with all these people, because the slaves did live with their masters, but if they're no longer slaves, then the masters are like, you gotta get the fuck out, and what do you do with these people?
I wonder if she's getting tired of ruling. Like, if she's like, yeah, it's about time for me to go to King's Landing now.
I hope so. Shit. So then this farmer comes in, and he is crying, and Missandei is...
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't think this is funny.
No, it's not funny. The look that Grey Worm gives him as he approaches her...
Yeah. I actually said
that... It's fucking hilarious.
I said it on Twitter
He's like, what's this fool up to?
I said it on Twitter last night. I was like, I need a gif of his face looking at this man as he approaches. But the man is...
No, this is very sad.
He's upset, and Missandei is translating, and he basically, he explains that Drogon, which is the black one, her biggest dragon, he came out of the sky, and she reveals this, kind of bundle blanket he was holding. It's the bones of his daughter. Her dragon killed this kid. Now, here's the funny thing about this. This takes me back to... I think it was First of His Name. I think that was the episode where the goat herder lost his...
Right.
And Meghan said, John and I were talking about this, and we were like, well, how do you do that? Like, what do you do if it was a kid? Like, how do you say, what do you say? Like, how do you put a value on that? How do you make up to your people when this happens? And Meghan cut us off and said, they're not going to have a dragon kill a kid. And can I just tell you, when you said that, I was laughing so hard to myself because I was like, okay, just you wait.
I'm like, that's so unnecessary. God damn it. But that's Drogon, who clearly, I thought about that because now I'm like so proud of myself that I know all the dragons' names. I'm like, if we go back, I'm like, Drogon's the one that's the most aggressive.
Yeah.
By far. Like,
oh, yeah.
How do you pronounce it? Is it Rhaegal? And Viserion.
Yes.
Okay.
And they're
so like one of them is like sort of like a mama's boy. One of them's like kind of in the middle, and then Drogon's like, fuck it.
Yeah, Drogon is the one who's going to end up in jail, and Daenerys is going to have to take out a second mortgage on her house. He's the
Drogon is being scared straight on Oprah.
Yeah, Drogon is going to join a gang. He is, and then so he's and yeah, that's the one, and he's the biggest one. So so this was so, and I have to tell you, in the books, this honestly, it was sad in the books, but it was worse watching it. I don't know if it was just this actor, this guy, because he was so frail, and everybody's reaction, and seeing the child's little fingers, like you can tell, like she died, like putting her hand up to her face. It was awful.
I feel like I could see her like kind of like running through the whole thing in her own head, and then her face later, when we'll get to that, but her face later, like combined with her running through that in her own head, like, Jorah was right. I really cannot tame these dragons. Like, that was what killed me. I was like so upset.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm heartless because I thought it was awesome.
You thought it was awesome.
Yeah, I didn't think it was sad at all. I mean, because I don't really care about fictional characters, but I thought it was awesome because I wanted her to have to deal with that. Like, I wanted the dragon to kill someone and her to have to deal with that. So I thought it was great that we.
It was great that it happened, but I thought they did a really good job. To me, that guy's acting and the visuals of it and the reactions of the other characters' faces, Sir Barristan's face.
He did a great job too. He was like, "Oh fuck, shit." I'm like,
so she gets. So we find out that nobody can find Drogon. So she tells Grey Worm to meet her at the catacombs, the other two dragons, and she leads them in. And while they're like, eating and fighting over some food or meat or whatever that she has in there, she puts chains around their necks, shackled them to the walls in this catacomb, and she leaves. And when they realize that she's leaving, they lose their shit. And
her face.
God, John, what did you say?
I said, they were screaming like, "Mom, Mom!"
Yeah, I was like. Meanwhile, Drogon's still out in them streets. Like, these two are like, "Wait, we didn't even do it. Why are we getting punished?" Like, we eat goats. We're not fucking up people's kids. And I loved her reaction when she's walking away. And I thought it was funny because even though I know they're supposed to have been distracted by whatever they were eating, that she was able to get those things around their necks.
Because she was also like sort of like coddling them a little bit too. Like she was like nuzzling into their necks.
Yeah.
And, like,
I kept waiting for them to look at her and be like, "Bitch, what are these?" Like, wait. But the fact that they didn't know anything was wrong until she started to leave, and then they kind of tried to go after her, and they're crying. The way her body tensed up the first time they realized what was happening, I'm going to tell you right now, it is very much like taking your kid to daycare for the first fucking time. Not school, but like daycare where you have to walk out and they tell you, don't make eye contact, just go. It is the hardest thing in the world. I really feel like Emilia Clarke did such a good job in this scene. I thought it was really, and I think it's particularly noteworthy because that's CGI. Like, like for her to put that type of emotion into it, and we know that there's nothing there when she's doing it. I thought she did a really good job.
This part of the show has kind of become known as the boring part of the show, like her whole story. But I do like that we are seeing her education about ruling and what it means. And I love that we went directly from her telling that guy, "I didn't fight to free people just to put them back in the situation they were in." And we go directly from that to her enslaving her own quote unquote children. Like she's enslaving them and she's freeing people. And like that feels like it goes against everything that she was like last season.
Yeah.
Like especially like when she was lifted on the people's shoulders for freeing them. Now she's enslaving too. So it's I think that's a nice bit of symbolism in this otherwise boring part of the show.
Yeah, they need to hurry up and get her ass out of Marine. I'm just going to say it because, I mean, it's all right some of the time, and I like seeing the dragons, and I think that the shit with Jorah and all that, but we are fast approaching all right, this shit is getting old. Nobody really is watching this shit to watch her learn how to become a queen. Like, them dragons hatched back in season 1. Y'all need to hurry this shit up because we care about her getting her vengeance. And in her vengeance, this is like a bunch of people we don't care about. I don't care about the people in Marine or Yunkai or Astapor. They need to hurry up. Okay, so now we're back at the wall and at Castle Black, and they're laying to rest the Watchers, the Night's Watch brothers who died in the battle. And of note in this scene, it's really quick. Maester Aemon says a few words. Their bodies are burned. We see that Stannis and Davos are watching. We see that Shireen and Selyse, Stannis' wife Selyse, and their daughter Shireen are there. I noticed that we did not see any Alliser Thorne. I was listening to some other podcasts where they thought he died. And I don't think he's a major character, but I do feel like that's not a death they would do off screen.
Yeah, I thought he was just like healing up somewhere.
Right, because I would think if they were going to kill him, they would have just had Tormund kill him in that scene. Do you know what I mean? Like Tormund we would have seen him die there. He would have died, and that's it. There's no reason to show his men dragging him.
He's not an off-camera death. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think so. So
I feel like he's going to die. He may die from his wounds if he dies, but I don't think he would die off screen. That'd be.
So we don't see him, and then the scene ends with Melisandre making eye contact with Jon through the flames.
Eye banging Jon.
What's that about?
Vision? I don't know.
I'm asking. Like, what did you guys think when you saw that? Was it?
I mean, I assume that she somehow like realizes that. Well, I'm not sure why it'd be like so weird for her to know that he was Ned Stark's son or that he had some sort of lineage or something, but I don't know. But she's taking notice of him. She could not peel her eyeballs off of him.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Does she know who his mother is? Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know. I know why. I know why she's so interested in him. I don't know if she knows who his mother is. I know that, and I doubt.
That's what I thought was that she was seeing him and she was like, she would know.
Now my question is, does she know who his father is? Because this whole show is like nothing but surprises.
Yeah, I don't think that I don't think it's anything like that. There are only, like 1 or 2 people left alive that probably know who Jon Snow's parents are. And we haven't even met one of them yet. I think they've mentioned the person's name. Again, this isn't spoilery. Like, I don't even like talk about this stuff because I don't want people to say, "Oh, she's spoiling." It's like, no, I pay attention.
No.
Yeah,
that's
like
fine.
they've mentioned it. And I can't remember his name right now, but it's basically is it Howland? But anyway, the Mira and Jojen, the ones that are with Bran, hit their dad.
Okay.
And they mentioned that when they were talking about how he was there during that, and I can't remember the name of the building or whatever that Ned Stark's sister died in during the battle. So yeah, so there's it's out there, but again, if people aren't picking it up when they're watching, I'm not gonna keep driving it home. Okay, so then Tormund is Jon goes to talk to Tormund, and we find out he's been healed by Maester Aemon. Jon tells him he's not going to be tortured, but then he goes, so what is it? You're going to throw us off the top of the wall? We're going to hang us, cut our heads off? He's like, I don't know what happens to the prisoners. And I'm like, then how do you know they're not going to be tortured?
Right, exactly.
You can't make those promises. I love this because when they talk about Stannis, Jon says he's not our king. And that, you know what, let's just talk about it now, because actually after this, we don't go back to John again after the next little bit here. So what do you guys think that means for Stannis now at the wall? Like, he clearly, like, you can have a claim to the throne, right? And people can know, okay, well, Tommen is technically the king, and that's who we take our orders from. But how do you think it's going to look? How do you think it's going to be received that the man who is trying to take the throne and who is demanding people around him refer to him as your grace? And John did it. John called him your grace twice.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, and he's probably going to have these people kneeling to him. What do you think that means for the Night's Watch, and like how they're going to be seen, or how you know, what Stannis's presence there means, if anything?
I mean, I thought his presence was like just like reinforcement, and having like, you know, like you play the game of Risk, you like a certain stronghold. I thought that was like their stronghold. Like,
yeah, but see, that's the thing, because he's not technically the king. So like, you can, like, I think it puts them in a really sticky spot, because they needed the help and they sent out these letters, right. And they were like, shit is getting real, we need help. And it's not their fault that the only person who showed up was Stannis. They're not going to turn him away. I was, you know, like, no, we can't accept your help. We're going to have let these giants come here and fuck us up. We can't accept your help, usurper, you know? So of course they're going to accept his help, but then what does that mean going forward?
You know, I didn't think of Risk. I thought of like Monopoly. You know, they had a house, and then Stannis gave them a hotel.
And now they got to pay him rent.
They had like the car, and there's like 3 blue pegs and 2 pink.
Now they got to pay him rent. It's going to get messy. Yeah.
But with John saying that, you know, he's not our king, I thought Tormund said, you know, like, you spend too much time with us, you're never going to kneel to anyone again. So that's what I took that at face value, was that I thought that's what, well, the Jon Snow saying that about Stannis being the king. I felt like Tormund was right, that he spent too much time with them and he's not going to kneel to any king.
Oh, no, John, the Night's Watch belongs to the realm, and they're going to need to do what Tommen tells them to do. So I just think that, you know, Stannis is standing there like he owns shit. I just think it's really interesting. So just something to think about. So he tells him that Ygritte loved him, because Tormund tells Jon that Ygritte loved him not because she told him so, but because all she talked about was killing him.
Yes.
I was like, that sounds legit.
Worst relationship ever.
And then he tells him that she belongs in the north, the true north. And so Jon takes Ygritte's body out beyond the wall, north of the wall, and he burns it.
And a funeral party.
Yeah. Poor Ygritte. I actually, you know, this is a relationship that I don't think particularly meant anything to me in the books. And I didn't really care for it in the show. Like, I didn't hate it, but it wasn't like,
really?
Yeah.
I got really sad when he burned her. I got really sad.
I was going to say, like, but this affected me, and I think it was a choice. I think it was because of the music choice and the way they had, you know, had her framed there, like wrapped, you know, and him and his reaction. Like, I just thought it was really, really beautiful, and it was probably the most I cared about. Right. Their relationship and his feelings for her through the whole series was in this.
And I think that I had read last week that when she was, you know, shot with the arrow by Ollie, that was her last day in set, and they gave her a bow and arrow, and they had like resewn like the leather strap you would use to like hold your hand, like to make it like nicer, and they had like a little emblem on there that said "Kissed by Fire," and the other side of it there was a red rose. And I thought that was, like, so lovely. I'm like, what a great gift to get, like, from your time on the show.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh.
Yeah, it was really, really sad.
But all I really cared about for this relationship, I didn't like it. I didn't care. I mean, it was fine. But what I cared about was what it did for Jon Snow. I mean, that's what I cared about. And, like, it gave him more experience, like, out there with the wildlings. And now it changed him as a person. Like, when he's talking
more to Stannis, experience, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when he's talking to Stannis, he's like, you know, if my father saw what I saw, he'd tell you to burn all the bodies before dark. Like, I feel like that's what Jon Snow got out of not only Ygritte's relationship with him, but also just his relationship with everything beyond the wall.
Yeah,
Like,
and I mean,
that's,
to be
that's
fair,
what I cared. Yeah, that's all I cared about that.
and to be fair, he wasn't the only one who had that experience, though. I mean, like they were all that the season 2 finale, like and then even in season 1, they brought back those 2 guys and they reanimated. So I feel like the problem isn't that they don't get it. The problem is that nobody else is listening and saying, this is what's happening and this is some scary shit and this is not cool. Okay, so now we're with Bran and his group, and they finally find the werewood tree that we've seen in the vision that the Three-Eyed Crow was telling him to find. But before they can get to it, they are attacked by like these skeleton creatures that come out from under the snow.
This was totally like a Ray Harryhausen scene, like with those skeletons popping out of the ground. You know, I loved it. I loved this, and because Ray Harryhausen is huge. He's a legend. Mm-hmm. So I think this was very much a nod to him.
Bran wargs into Hodor, and then Mira fights off a few of them, and at the same time she's trying to protect her brother. But he ends up getting stabbed, and then they're all saved by this, like, it's like a little girl, basically, who shoots fireballs. Pixie. Yeah, basically.
Pixie Theory, Drew Barrymore, fire starter.
Yes, and
she's like, come with me if you want to live.
And she tells him that Jojen is, already done for, and so Mira slits Jojen's throat, and the little wood sprite person, I don't know what in the book.
She's very sprightly. She's very sprightly.
Yeah, in the book her name is Leaf, so I'm just gonna say fucking Leaf, so I don't have to keep stumbling over myself. Leaf shoots a fireball at Jojen to make sure, like, he doesn't come back, and then they all run inside.
And later she will change her name to Joaquin Phoenix.
Okay, so
I hated that Jojen died, honestly. That I cared more about that than Ygritte's death, honestly, because I thought Jojen turned into a really cool character, and he was really level-headed. Like, he really did get Bran there, and now he's just like, yep, I'm dead. So
I felt really bad about that, and we've talked about like stabbings on other shows before. That stabbing was just like determined and like I was like, oh.
It was awful.
I couldn't take that scene. It was so gross.
I felt bad because I like the actor, but I never really, even reading the books, connected to Jojen or Mira, and I felt like it. Honestly, I think this is the most interesting Bran storyline has been since he got pushed out the tower.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Like, seriously, he's only been interesting when he got pushed out the tower, and now. Other than that, it's just been really slow going, and it's not really exciting, and so I love this whole scene, but I just kind of felt like, it just felt early on, like we knew that Jojen could see things, and he had some information, but not all of it. He knew he was going to die, and now we see why when he had that vision, when they were tied up, and he was like held up his hand and his hand was on fire. Now we see why that happened, when he looked over to see the tree because of her shooting the fireball, and he knew what was going to happen to him. But it just kind of felt like, he was the guide. He was the, telling him, we got to keep going. But that's it. Like, he was useless. He was sickly. It was just like, I don't know. I just kind of felt like, I kind of feel like this is the start of where Bran gets interesting, because the rest of this, like, on the road shit with Hodor and those two just wasn't interesting to me. This was frightening because I like those little skeletal creatures.
Oh, those skeletal things are so terrifying.
I felt bad for Jojen, though, because honestly, he didn't have to die, but I don't know if you noticed that Mira pushed him away to keep him from because he was trying to help her, and she pushed him and he fell back, and then he just laid there. And that's why he got stabbed.
That's to that corpse, yeah.
Yeah. So I felt bad about that.
It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. He knew he was going to die, so he didn't try to not die. So then that ended up making him die.
Yeah.
But I thought that Bran's story, for me, got interesting when he first warped into Hodor. Like, that's when I started like, oh, this is interesting now. Because then I felt like that made Bran's ability that much better. Like, and it made me interested in what would happen in the future. And now we've seen he's done it a few times now, and in this scene he does it to full effect. Like, and Hodor,
Hodor was getting his ass beat. Hodor was getting his ass beat with a mallet.
I feel like they haven't done it in the show, but at this point, we talked about it before. At this point in the books, he's done it a few times, and Hodor doesn't like it. And I feel like it's getting old. Like, I'm so glad they're at this tree now. Like, I'm just like, okay, what does this mean? What's going to happen next season? Let's move forward, because you knew it was going to happen when he was lying there and he's yelling at Hodor. And this is the other thing.
Right.
Like, I like Hodor. It's cute. It could be funny sometimes, like, Hodor, stop Hodoring. But it's also getting really, really fucking old because he's kind of useless. He's just really big and he carries Bran around. But
it can't be a go-to forever.
Yeah, like, and I get it. He's simple. Like,
I would be okay with it. I'd be okay with it being a go-to forever. Because I feel like they're a team. Like,
but he doesn't see it as a team.
No,
like,
he doesn't like it. He hates it.
And they keep. And then I think it was the warg that was with the other one. That was like, you can't do that. Like, you're not supposed to do that. Like, it's not a good thing to do. So it just feels like they have.
But I'm okay with doing it. That's what I'm saying.
I'm not.
I'm okay.
I'm just like, they need to figure out something else, because this is I don't want to know going into the scene that anytime something happens, he can just warg into Hodor. And what I did like, though, was that this was my point I said before. Hodor's big. He doesn't have a vocabulary at all. But he doesn't even seem to know, like, he can understand shit. You know what I mean? Like, you look at the old episodes when they're like, Hodor, go get this, go do that. So he understands. But he's not useful. Like, I want him to know enough that when they're being attacked, to do something without having Bran.
No, and he's like he's like a tiny child.
And
like,
then when he did jump into him and he's fighting, that fight took way too fucking long, but I was okay with it because Bran doesn't know how to fight. So just because which is a little unbalanced, because because when he first got into him and those things were on his back, he like grabbed one before they could hit him with the mallet and flung him. He stuck his fingers in the thing's eye socket.
Yeah, he kind of skull fucked one of them. He was like, bam!
Yeah, like, that was pretty cool. But then when it came to swinging the sword, like, it was going on way too long, and it allowed for other shit to happen that could have been avoided. But it's okay, because it's like, just because he's big, he's still Bran. And Hodor can only do what Bran knows to do or thinks to do. So I was okay with it. But I'm just so satisfied that this part of the story for now is over, because I've had enough of them trekking through the snow and visions and what does it all mean and following this fucking three-eyed crow. I'm just happy this part is over.
And I did think about, though, like, the fact that Hodor doesn't like it. I thought, and I felt like in this scene they did a good job, at least in my opinion, of showing that Bran did it. I think he would have done it anyway, obviously, because we know he would have. Mm-hmm. But I think this time he did it to save Hodor, because Hodor was going to die. Mm-hmm. Like, Hodor was being killed by those skeletons, and he did it to save him and to save everyone. I feel like it was a necessary evil.
I am a little annoyed with the direwolf in this scene. Like, we saw Ghost did it last week. It's like they attack one thing, and I forgave it last week. I forgave it last week because I know these things are expensive.
But then where'd he go?
Right, that's what I was going to say.
Keep your mouth going. Keep going.
Yeah, no. In the battle last week, they didn't show us anything, so I'm fine with that, because then you can assume, okay, he tore the neck out of this one. Jon saw him, acknowledged it, and everybody went on. You can assume that Ghost went on and he fucked some more shit up. But in this scene, they kept showing Summer still eating this one thing, and it's like, there's other shit still going on.
And then we don't see him again. He's like calmly walking into the tree.
Yes.
Like, okay. And
I mean, there was a shot of Bran warged into Hodor, and there are two more coming behind Bran. The ones at the fireball, when that ends up getting saved.
Right.
While they're showing you that shot, you see Summer in the corner, the left side of the screen, just eating up the other one. And I'm like, hello? Like, what good are these dire wolves if they're just like one and done? Like, he's like, so she takes out Jojen. I said this already, right? Leaf like hits him with the fireball. And so we talked about this on Facebook. I think it was me and Jawan, because the first time I saw it, it looked like Jojen was about to turn, because he's lying there with his eyes open. And they showed him, there were 2 close-ups of him after she cut his throat, which I thought was a little excessive. And I'm like, why do they keep showing him? Because he's clearly dead. So I thought, oh my God, he's going to turn. And then when she steps forward and launches this fireball, we see his face. You see the fireball in the reflections of his eyes.
Yeah.
That's what I saw. When I first watched it live, I thought his eyes were crystallized, like turning blue, like the baby did. Yeah. And then, so I said that. I was like, did we just witness him about to turn? And then Joanne was like, I think so. But then I watched it again to write the recap, and I was like, oh no, it was just the reflection of that fireball coming. So they go into the kind of cave under the tree. As my husband said, it got very True Detective.
I thought it reminded me of the movie Legend for some reason. It was all fairy magic.
They found the Yellow King.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then we find that the skeletons can't follow them inside because what animates them and what drives them doesn't work in there. And that's all the explanation we're going to get, apparently. And she says that she is, they were called the children by the first men, even though they were born older than the first men. Like the first men, you guys know who the first men are. So, yeah, and then Bran meets the old dude, who's, until the show reveals his name, I'm not going to reveal anymore. Old dude, he was the one warging, like, he was seeing, like, the three-eyed raven, and he tells them that he's been watching them their whole lives. Jojen knew he was going to die, and he came anyway, and when Bran asks if he's going to help him walk again, he says, you will never walk again, but you will fly. So, yeah. Okay, let's move on.
I bet that guy knows who Jon Snow's mother is.
He knows everything.
Apparently he knows everything. So there you go.
Bran and Podrick wake up. They've lost their horses. Their horses have run off. And as they go to find them, they come across Arya. And she's practicing her water dancing. Her and Brienne have a quick conversation where they bond over being girls with swords who kick asses. And then,
like, people are coming, you can shit later.
When the Hound shows his face, he's off taking a shit. Pod recognizes him, which causes Brienne to realize who Arya is, but Arya won't go with Brienne. The Hound assumes that Brienne has been paid by the Lannisters. At first he thinks that she's just, after them for the bounty that's on him. But she's like, no, I can take you to safety. And he's like, yeah, no. And Arya won't go. Whether, it's not clear whether or not she believes, like, because the Hound is basically saying, oh, you want the bounty. And she goes, no, I was just, promised. And he goes, oh, so you're just paid by the Lannisters, that Valyrian steel. And I've been looking at Lannister gold my whole life. And it's not really clear if Arya believes him or believes Brienne, but it is very clear she doesn't fucking care. Like, because either way, she's not going.
If I was her, and I think this is her attitude now, is like, I wouldn't believe anyone. I wouldn't trust anyone. Like, the only reason I think she's okay with being with the Hound is because she's been with them already, and she's like, this is the one guy she knows. Right. So it's like, might as well stay with him.
Yeah, I love that. She was just like, yeah, whatever. So the Hound and Brienne fight. It's pretty fucking brutal. There's some butt punching and nut kicking. When she finally gets like him at
Cunt punting, we can say it.
I was really trying not to go there.
I'll go there.
She gets him at a disadvantage and has her sword in his face, and he grips it with his hands, cutting his hands, and they fight some more. She bites off his ear. And finally, she pushes him off a cliff, basically. And throughout all the commotion, Arya kind of disappeared. Pod lost track of her. And so while they run off looking for her, Arya finds the Hound down below, and he's dying.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I gotta think that he's not going to die, because we didn't see him die.
We didn't see him die.
Until we see him die. Like, those Clegane guys, they're not dyers, apparently. They don't die easily. I mean, I'm not going to believe. Yeah, I'm not going to believe he's dead until we see him dead.
Oh, so
yeah, you can't say, I guess.
No, shut up, shut up.
I just feel bad if you guys are going to live in denial till next spring.
Well,
I mean,
two schools of thought. My thoughts and everyone else's thoughts.
I was just going to say, you are the only two people I've listened to two podcasts on this episode, and I've read a bunch of reviews online, and he's dead. Sorry.
No,
Okay.
no,
All
he's
right.
not.
Okay.
Shut up.
If you say he died in the books, then fine. But what I'm saying, it's funny though that I thought that the Mountain was dead, and he wasn't, and now I think that the Hound's not dead, and he is. But I mean, it's just
Fair enough.
right? because we didn't see him die. I thought it made sense that he might still be alive because we've seen his bloodline apparently is very strong.
Those Clegane boys, yeah. So, okay, so the fight was epic. This does not happen in the books, by the way. This is not how he dies.
Yeah, this is a very ballistic fight. Like that movie Lone Survivor with Mark Wahlberg. It felt very like the action in this fight felt very much like that movie, like very in your face and painful to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
A lot more than like the Mountain and the Viper. Like that was very finesse. Like this was like punch you in the face and hurt.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in this case, we didn't want to see either one of these characters die. I mean, in the Mountain and the Viper, you didn't want. In my opinion, I did not want to see either one of these characters die. With the Mountain and the Viper, I did not want to see Oberyn die, so it was very different for me.
I was rooting for the Hound, and I'll tell you why.
All right.
Even though I knew he was going to die. Because, like I said, this doesn't happen in the book, so I was putting...
Allegedly die.
Huh? Allegedly, okay.
Allegedly.
We've entered the spoiler section.
Okay. So it's just weird when I think something is like so obvious and clear. You guys are like, nope. And I'm like, damn, I guess I'm spoiling if I correct you. But, okay, so in the books, what I loved about all of this, especially for book readers, so in the book, there is he and Arya encounter some people and they fight or whatever, and he gets cut. And it's the same thing, like he won't let her treat it. It's not a bite. And that's what ends up killing him. Like it's slowly, like they're traveling. There's no eerie shit. Like this is all different. But they're traveling along and then he gets really sick and he's, he can't go any further. And it's clear he's going to die because it's like all infected and, and it's the same thing. He's just like, show me mercy, and she won't do it. And she leaves him.
Right. I think I said before, I think that in my dream scenario, like he would die like fighting the Mountain. Like
yeah.
That'd be like my dream scenario. That's obviously not going to happen.
Yeah,
but...
I was just gonna say, here's the thing, people. George R. R. Martin's not trying to give you anything you want. He's just not. I'm sorry, he's not.
He is like the lump of coal motherfucker of all time.
So the bite mark is hold on, let me just finish saying this. Hold on.
Okay.
The bite mark was a serious red herring because everybody who'd read the books thought, oh, okay, it's just going to be the bite mark. And especially because they kept driving it home, like when she was like, you should have let me burn it, and it was slowing him down. So this whole thing, I like the fact that it ended the same way, but like for book readers, it felt like they were just fucking with us, which I'm fine with because you're thinking, and it wasn't even the bite mark. And I think he remarks like killed by a woman. He goes, big bitch saved you, killed by a woman. You must love that. But yeah, so it's quite different because this fight didn't happen. But the reason I was rooting for the Hound is because I think he's a more interesting character. Like Brienne is nice, don't get me wrong, and she's a badass, and I like that she's like trying to carry out this, promise to Catelyn. But let's be real, she's not very good at it.
What else can she deliver?
Yeah, I mean, she's a good fighter, and she seems like true to her word. But she's not very good at it. Like her being like, this is the right thing to do, and that guy may have recognized this, but I'm not going to kill him. I'm not going to do anything. And then that guy being the one that sold them out to Locke lost Jaime his hand. And now we have this situation where she's supposed to be tracking down these two girls, and she finds one of them, the one that everybody thought was dead, and she can't even convince her to go with her because instead of just saying point blank, listen, your mom sent me back to King's Landing with Jaime, which she said some of that, to try to ransom him for you two girls. But then she died and blah, blah, blah. Yes,
Right.
Jamie gave me this, but he wants me to, whether or not Arya believed it is irrelevant. You at least say it. You don't
I
come
think
off.
what you said in your recap was like, she really did a shit job.
Piss
explaining
poor job
herself.
of explaining herself. She really did.
So bad. Like, she could have said something that made some more sense.
Yeah.
To make it sense to both of them, to make them realize like what's been happening this whole time.
And everything that the Hound was saying was sounded reasonable. It fit
Yeah.
with everything that
Yeah.
Arya has experienced these past couple of seasons. But Brienne didn't seem to be, to me, I think she's doing a shitty job of keeping her promises, first to Catelyn and now to Jamie. But I was rooting for the Hound because I think he is a more interesting character. Brienne has been pretty much one note since season 2, and I just think that the Hound is more complex and there's layers to him. So if somebody had to die, I would have preferred to be her, but whatever.
Right. Well, actually, as he was laying there too, he said, like, he said in an awful way. He was like, I could have raped Sansa.
Yeah, because
bloody.
It was clear she wasn't going to do it, right? Like,
so he was trying to like rev her up to like
right.
make her hate him more.
And I don't think he would have ever raped Sansa. I don't think so.
He did say what I liked was like, he said, I would have had at least one good memory,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like he really has not one good memory of his entire freaking life.
And I think it was clear he was lying about Go ahead.
Except for his relationship with Arya. Like everything that he her, that's a good memory for him.
And I think
he's trying to trump that though, to get her to go against that feeling to like kill him because he's so ready to die.
I think it was really clear too that he was lying about the butcher's boy and all the pleading stuff he did because they established early on that he rode that boy down, that the boy was running, barely saw him coming, and he just like killed him without even getting off his horse, which is a lot different than him pleading for his life. So I think that he was embellishing that, and I don't think he would have raped Sansa. It was just all shit to try to get her to do what he wanted her to do, and then she didn't. In the end, she took his other life lesson: dead men don't need silver. She took his silver.
Yeah, she's like, all right, I'll take this and I'll be on my way.
Yep. So,
but even after the fight, though, Brienne was screaming for Arya in a weird way that just was not very welcoming. It did not sound like someone who wanted to do good things for you.
Yeah.
She's very angry with her yell.
Yep. So. You guys,
it would be very interesting if the Hound survived that fall and all of that, and then he still died from the bite. I think that would be hilarious.
Okay, so we're going to move on. But before we do, I just want to say that I really did enjoy the look on Arya's face the moment she realized the two of them were about to fight.
Oh, she was loving that.
That
shit.
girl has a bloodlust. She didn't give a fuck because
she's like, this is what you wanted popcorn.
Yeah, she was like, either way, even if the Hound lost, it was just clear to me she wasn't going to go to Brienne anyway. So, okay, so now Tyrion, he's saved by Jamie, who escorts him through the tunnels, and tells him that Varys is going to help. He gives him directions on where to go, and tells him that there is a ship waiting to take him to the free cities. They hug and kiss goodbye. Like, Jamie actually kisses him, which I loved. And Tyrion goes off, but instead of going where he's supposed to fucking go, Tyrion decides
he goes exactly where he's supposed to go. That's where he goes.
Aha, there we go.
Tyrion decides to stop in the private quarters of the Tower of the Hand. And we know these are the tunnels that Shay used to use.
And now I sort of got it because you've mentioned this several times before. Like you were like, this is the Shay that I hated in the books.
Yes.
When she was doing other stuff, I was like, oh, I can't believe this.
Okay,
bitch.
and there is. So I read this in it. Let me just do this now since we're talking about it. So there's an interview with George R. R. Martin. He's talking about what happens here. And I was so shocked because Natasha tweeted last night, I told you guys they were going to do it, and meaning they were going to have him kill her because clearly this does happen in the books. He kills Shay, and I was like, who the fuck thought that they wouldn't? And they were like, well, Peter Dinklage, people love him so much and they love the character, they wouldn't want to risk making people not like him. And I was like, I have a feeling that there's not much this character can do that people wouldn't forgive. And I don't think killing the whore who betrayed him and then fucked his father and then killing his father who was going to kill him is going to be the thing to turn people against Tyrion.
Who spoke out against him in this trial.
Yeah, I was like, I don't understand what people are thinking. I don't understand how they watch TV, but okay. So I totally did. I just knew this was going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, and especially the way he kills her. Like, he kills her in a way that feels like he doesn't want to do it, but he has to do it. And once he's
so
finished,
personal.
he doesn't even look at her. Like, he can't look at her anymore after he kills her because it's painful. Like, he just knows I have to kill her and I'm going to leave it at that.
So since we're already in an hour and a half, I'm just going to hit like the highlights for this. So, okay, so they say goodbye. So the first thing you guys need to know that people were just all in an uproar over is the fact that Jaime, in the books, when he leaves Tyrion this way, he confesses to him the fact that okay, well, let me ask you guys, do you guys remember Tyrion's wife?
She was a prostitute that Jaime hired. No? Am I making that up?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I am making that up.
No, sorry, no. Yes, you're right. Sorry, no, yeah. So he'd fell in love with somebody and got married, and then it turns out she was a prostitute, and to shame him, Tywin had like the Lannister guards all have sex with her in front of Tyrion, take turns, like gangbanged her in front of Tyrion, and then they each paid her like a gold coin for her services, and Jaime knew about it. Like, he didn't like claim that he didn't know it was going to go as far as he did, but it was just like, I wanted you to feel love. I want you to have somebody in your life. And Jaime, all this time, Tyrion thought that this was a woman who really did love him. So this is a story that he told, I think, to Bran and to Shay back in season 2.
Yeah, they were like getting drunk and like
right, but they don't bring it up anymore. Like in the books, it's something that's kind of like always there with Tyrion. You know what I mean? Because it's a pretty fucked up thing, and it really does explain like how he feels about his father and the things that the family has done to him. So in the book, when they go to part ways, I guess Jaime is feeling like I'm never going to see you again because you cannot come back here. Like you need to go to the Free Cities and start over. So he feels like he just needs to get this off his chest, and he admits to Tyrion that the girl wasn't, her name was Tysha, I think, wasn't a prostitute. She really did love him. And Tyrion, because he's so angry, yells at Jaime and confesses to killing Joffrey, even though he didn't, right? And also tells him how Cersei, while he was gone being held captive, was fucking Lancel and fucking some other guys. And then he says something like, and even Moonboy, for all I know, who was like the court fool, like he was like mentally. God. Yeah. And it's like a big thing for Jaime, like to hear this, and it kind of like, fucks with him. So they part on horrible fucking terms. So the fact that this didn't happen, there were a lot of book readers up in arms, but I knew they wouldn't do it because, again, nobody really remembered the whole story about the wife, the prostitute.
Right.
So I feel like if they had done that, people would, first of all, people really love this relationship, and I don't think the show was going to tear it apart here.
Yeah, it wouldn't have served that story very well.
Over somebody we've never met, we don't give a fuck about. Now, if he had said to him, oh, just by the way, I fucked Shay, then I could see, But I don't think the audience gives a fuck, the show-watching audience gives a fuck about a character in the books that they don't really talk about. So there's that. So
honestly, that feels... I like that they didn't do that because it sounds like a childish moment for both of them. Mm-hmm. It's something that would have taken from both characters. Like the respect that I have for these characters, whatever it is, would have been hurt by the both of them having that moment.
So he goes into the quarters. I'm now back to the show. He goes into Tywin's room and he finds Shay in the bed. Shay grabs a knife and he jumps on the bed to, get the knife away from her. And then, he does, and she hits at him, and then he grabs this chain that's around her neck, and she pushes him off the bed, but he's still holding onto the chain. So she kind of falls back with her head, going off the edge of the bed, and he's basically sitting on the floor with his back against the bed, and he's pulling and pulling the chain, and you can hear her neck crack.
Yeah.
So I feel like I talked about this with Brandon from not Brandon, Brendan and Natasha from Unspoiled last night. We were in an email chain last night, and I said this felt a lot less deliberate on the show than it did in the books. And I do think that this might be a way for the show to soften what he did.
You mean that you felt it was like in the books, like he was like out on a mission to kill her? Or?
Because once he saw her in the bed, like he basically hopped up on top of the
bed. She even called him like my lion.
Exactly.
Like, my lion.
So he kind of like snaps and he jumps on the bed with the intent to choke the shit out of her, which is what he does. But here they have her grab for this knife. So it feels like to me like, now sure, you know, I'm not trying to be funny, but he's short, right? She's on the bed a few feet away. Did he really have to jump on her to get the knife? The only thing I can think is the fact that if she grabbed that knife and he turned and ran, she would have started screaming and he wouldn't have escaped. So I will buy that he thought, I've got to get the knife from her and try to get her to be quiet because I still want to escape. But at this point, I don't even think he's thinking about that because he's so shocked. So I feel like they threw in her grabbing the knife to make you feel better about the fact that because then it kind of comes off as self-defense. Like, so once he grabs the chain, she knocks him off the bed.
Right.
And he doesn't let go. Do you know what I'm saying?
I felt like he has to kill her at this point. He has no choice. He doesn't want to kill her. Once she
grabbed the knife and they started
and he's almost like looking at her like, are you seriously putting this knife this close to my heart? Like, you're going to do this.
Yeah.
You're all about this. All right.
Yeah.
Well, it seemed like, because it was Tywin's chambers. So, it's like I took it as he kind of didn't even know she was really going to be there. So when she was there...
No, he didn't know. No, he absolutely didn't know. He didn't know. But my point is that when he did see that it was her, the difference between seeing her laying in the bed and then jumping on the bed to kill her is a lot different than seeing her laying in the bed and you're still in shock and you really don't know what you're going to do, but then she grabs a knife.
But what I'm saying is, like, when she saw him, like, that kind of made him have to kill her. Like if she would not have been there, she'd still be alive. He wouldn't have gone after her to kill her.
Right,
that's what I'm saying.
Oh, no, not at all.
He only killed her because she was there, and he went to confront his father. So I didn't feel like he didn't make the choice to kill her before he killed her. Is what I'm saying. It was kind of spur of the moment passion thing.
So you're. I don't know if I agree with that because, like I said, when she grabbed the knife, he had a choice. Now,
I don't think he did. Like you said, like once she saw him,
of course he did. Of course he did.
It was
because
it was either kill or.
Go ahead, John.
I was going to say it's either kill her or let her turn him in, and then he and Jamie both get killed, probably, or at least get punished. It's like
but that's a choice though because
he had to make that choice. Yeah, but it's a shitty choice. Like, if you make the other choice,
it doesn't matter if it's shitty. It's still a choice because let's face it, he didn't have to go to that room. He told him.
Do you think he went to that room to kill Tywin?
I don't know why he was there, but clearly there's no.
I do.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't know. He didn't have a weapon. I don't know what the fuck he thought he was going to do to Tywin, who's clearly like 6 feet and more. I don't know what the fuck he was thinking. Right. But maybe he wasn't thinking. But my point is, you were faced with freedom. So if you're saying he sees her and he realizes, oh shit, first of all, fuck, this is fucked up. Why, she's clearly been fucking my father. But she grabs the knife. He still has a choice. He can run and probably get caught. But my point is, he put himself in that position when he chose to go to those quarters and not take his ass to Varys. So clearly he knew there was a possibility he was not getting away. The moment he decided to go to those quarters and not get away, he made a choice then. He could have turned this way and get certain freedom or go this way and possibly get caught. He chose to go that way for whatever reason. Now, once he finds her, he made another decision because again, she grabbed the knife and he ran towards her and didn't run away. It's still a choice. It's a shitty choice, but he made a choice. I feel like them having her toss him on the floor and he's just it felt like they were making it circumstance. However, once he hit the floor, he was purposely tightening and pulling and she was struggling and then her neck cracked and then he still kept pulling.
It was obviously the best way to kill her off. Like,
Yeah, I just think it's real important to, I mean, I'm not saying you have to agree with me. I'm just saying I think it's real important to at least understand like what it is he was doing and why he did it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I fucking hate her. I'm glad she's gone. And I'm glad that he was able to do it and get away with it. But I think it's real important to the character to just understand like why he did what he did, because he's not perfect. He's not, and that's the thing that people are just. But Peter Dinklage does a great job, and Tyrion is probably the best of the Lannisters, right? Like clearly he's the best of the Lannisters. But I think it's important to note that this show is full of people who, the really shitty people like the Hound can do good things, and the really good decent people like Sansa can do shitty things. Do you know what I mean? Like. So
yeah, this show is nothing but gray area. Yeah, exactly.
And so I just don't think it's like I think it's fine to say that Tyrion did wrong. Like it now in this case, it kind of played to his favor a little bit because I mean we can talk about and just make predictions. This is probably the worst possible thing he could have done. He probably would have been better to kill his sister before he left than kill the one person who really had the true power. Now you have left your boy nephew on the throne with no Tywin to keep Cersei from having complete fucking rule. And I just don't, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like for now it worked in his favor, but clearly they're going to know it's him, right? Like he dropped, well, they don't do fingerprinting, but he dropped the crossbow. And I don't think it's going to be hard to piece together that the night that he broke out of jail, Tywin and Shay died, that they're not connected. But
well, even if they don't know it's him, we've seen that Cersei doesn't care whether it was him or not. She'll say it.
Right. It will be him. And he's not, I'm not trying to sound funny again, but he's not someone that can blend into environments. You know what I'm saying? Like if you say we're looking for an imp, yeah, I mean, come on. So all I'm saying is I just don't think it's necessarily, I don't want people to just like kind of make excuses for what happened just because Peter Dinklage is a great actor and everybody loves Tyrion. Like he clearly made some fucked up choices in doing this. Whether she had it coming or Tywin had it coming or not. So,
I'm glad he did. I'm glad he did, though, because I wanted.
I'm very glad he did.
So he eyes the crossbow, Joffrey's crossbow, and he goes to the privy, and he finds his father dropping a deuce, and I
felt so weird. I'm sorry I have to interrupt because like when we talked about this last night in our like little 10-minute podcast, like session on Skype. I honestly did not realize that Tywin was like on the toilet. I honestly did not get that at all.
Until when? When did you finally get it?
Today, when I watched it the second or third time.
You didn't hear when
John said last night, he's like, oh, he went out like Elvis. I'm like, no, Elvis went out on the toilet. Like, I was so transfixed on his face. Like, I did not get it at all.
You didn't get his
right
pants
over.
You didn't
my stupid head.
You didn't see that his pants were down around his ankles.
I did not. I stared at his face because he's so mesmerizing.
I feel like he did the thing that I wish more characters did. That moment where you're in a situation where this person is probably going to kill you, and instead of acting like you're scared, or like if you're on to somebody, you know what I mean, and you're thinking, I can't let them know I know.
Talk it over.
Yeah. And they're doing a really poor job of acting like they don't know this thing about this person that the person would then turn around and kill them for. So they're totally acting suspicious. Tywin did the complete opposite. He did all the right things. Most of the right things. But I love it because he was just like, he wasn't like he was particularly shocked to see Tyrion. He was like, let's go to my office where we can talk. And then he tried.
Yeah, he was like, let's have some dignity.
Yeah, that's what he meant. Like, let's.
Pretty.
Exactly. And he said, are you going to kill you?
And then he does. Yeah, he does keep saying like whore, I was like, he wants to die because he keeps saying whore. It's like, don't say that to the guy who has a crossbow pointed at you.
Well, to be fair, he only said it twice. The first time he said it, Tyrion said, "Don't say it again."
Yeah, and somebody twice too much.
But what my point is that somebody brought up on Twitter last night, which I thought was great because it was so, and the way Charles Dance played it, and which kind of makes it even more awesome, is that he wasn't saying it to fuck with Tyrion. Like, Tyrion said, like, kind of like Samuel L. Jackson in Pulp Fiction, like, say what again, motherfucker? And you're like, what? Because you're so scared, you know?
it was very matter of fact.
Right,
He was like,
and
yeah, she's a whore.
that's the
This
great
is
thing.
what we're talking about right now.
Yeah, that's the great thing about it. Tywin was not trying to antagonize. Tywin was seriously trying to play this to get him in a different position, like to not be on this toilet, to get him to put the crossbow down. Do you really think I was going to kill you? This is, like all this bullshit. And he was, to me, really convincing. But the fact that Tyrion had already killed Shay, there was nothing that this man could say. So I love the fact that when he called her a whore, he was like, don't say it again. When he did say it, it wasn't like he was trying to fuck with Tyrion. Like it just like came out of his mouth, like because he's so used to saying, like this. My friend on Twitter brought it up, and I thought it was such a good way to describe it. He's like, it's like when I'm hanging out with my boy. He's black. When I'm hanging out with my boys, and I'm like, yo, my nigga, and then we're around white people, and I forget that there are white people around, and my friends have to be like, dude, stop saying my nigga because there are white people around and you're scaring them. It felt like that. Like Tywin is so used to saying whore, and like, when he said that sentence, it just, I can't remember what the sentence was exactly. I don't even think he realized he said the word whore until that crossbow bolt was in his gut. Like, he was like, oh shit.
Yeah, and then once he was shot, he was acting like, you didn't just shoot me. That didn't just happen.
Exactly.
Because he was just like, yeah, he couldn't even accept it. He couldn't, just like he couldn't accept when Cersei was telling him about Jaime. It's like, you can't accept anything around.
So he kills him. He kills his dad, and he puts the crossbow down, and then he goes to Varys. Varys puts him in a crate, and I said on Twitter, I really hope it's not that same stinky crate he had that warlock in as last season, because that would be fucked up. And he tells him that, he's going to take care of him, and they load the crate on the ship, and Varys starts to go back to the castle when he hears the bells, which means that they've found Tywin, most likely. And then Varys is like, well, I guess I'm going to the Free Cities too. So Varys gets on the ship and they sail away. And then we see Arya books passage on a ship to Braavos. She finally uses the coin that Jack and Akar gave her and drops
iron coin.
Drops a little Valar Morghulis, and she's off to Braavos. And that's how the episode
I love
ends.
that. It was like I was like a get out of jail free card. She's like, hey, I have this. And he's like, oh, yes, madam.
At first, he thought they were going.
Really, it was so beautiful, though. Like that whole scenery, like that whole skyline. I was like, oh my god,
yeah,
that is so beautiful.
So, yeah, and I mean, I hate to say it, but like I said, there were a lot of book readers who were just really, really disappointed. Like, if you hear, like, seriously, the way this book ended was so much better than the way this episode ended. It's ridiculous, and for you to hear as a book reader that they gave it 6 extra minutes, you're like, oh my god, they're gonna do it, and then they didn't do it, and you're just like, what the fuck? But I've come to terms with the fact that the next 2 books are told concurrently. They are definitely a lot slower than the first 3 books, and I've had
okay. So as a reader, are you all caught up, or you're not caught up?
I'm caught up. I've read books 4. Yes, as a reader, I've read books 4 and 5. And so let's say in books 4 and 5, we get, like in book 4, let's say it picks up with, Tyrion on this ship. So we'll get Tyrion's point of view. We may get Cersei's point of view to figure out the aftermath of, what happened to Tywin. Okay. Maybe we get Arya on her travels and some other like John at the Wall, let's say. Then book 5 starts, and we're right back to right after Tywin's death, but now we're seeing it from Brienne's point of view, and and it's just really fucking slow. Yeah. So I'm just really worried how they're going to do it on the show. Well, I was really worried until I saw this season. That was my thing, because I was like, the big things this season were Joffrey's death, Oberyn's death, and then this ending, with the Hound dying or allegedly dying, and Tywin and Shay and Tyrion escaping. Like, those were the 3 things as a book reader we were all looking forward to this season. And I just feel like going forward, it's more slower pace. So I think my personal opinion is that they decided to hold off the last big thing that happened in this book to give a boost of excitement to seasons 5. Right. Because I think they've gotten us used to that. Like, I think that, do you know what I mean? Like,
like
it's
a
hard to
massive
explain.
opener, like the Purple Wedding or
Yeah,
whatever.
it's hard to explain unless you've read it. But it's just like, I mean, I feel bad. One of my friends today was just like, yeah, books 4 and 5 are boring as fuck. I wouldn't say they're boring, but they're just not as up and down as this. And so I think if you got 9 million people tuning in every Sunday night, and they're used to a certain type of storytelling, I think the show had to put off the big event of this episode to the next season, so to give something to keep the ride that people are used to. Or else I really was worried that once we got to this point, people would be bored. So we'll see. I hope I'm wrong. I have a feeling I might be, because I mean, I think they did a really good job with this season. So
I think you hope you're right because you want the next season to be not boring.
Right. So I hope. Well, I'm really worried that they're not going to be able to make it interesting, and I hope that I'm right in that putting off this big event makes, because there's, you know what I mean, because there's only but so much stuff they can change. Do you know what I mean? Like they
But
can't.
here's what I hope. I hope book readers have the sense to like not spoil something just because they haven't seen it yet. And that's happened a lot last night on Twitter. Like they were like all over that show.
Well, see, that's the thing.
They expected some shit to happen that did not happen,
and so they felt okay
everywhere.
To say, "Yeah, I did
like,
not."
Hey, we have like maybe like 2, 3, 4, I don't know, more seasons left. Like, don't like get ahead of yourselves.
Okay, so let's take a quick break, and then we have some feedback to get through, and I got some tweets to read, and we'll wrap it all up. Hey guys, did you know that you can support our website and our podcast just by shopping at Amazon? Go to projectfandom.com/Amazon, and we will receive a small portion of your total order. It doesn't cost you anything extra. We get that little bit from Amazon's profits. Pretty cool, huh? Super easy, and it's a great way to support us, help us keep the podcast going, and help us do all the fun, crazy contests that we come up with. So if you like the podcast, you like the website, consider using our affiliate link for your shopping needs. Again, that's projectfandom.com/Amazon. Now back to the show. Okay, so we're back. Tweet of the week. Let's get to it because this went really, really long, and I'm probably going to have to edit out a bunch of shit. Tweet of the week went to, where the fuck is it? Devin. Because when the dragons were acting up, he tweeted, Bebe's dragons. And a Bebe's Kids reference is, you don't really hear those much anymore, but they're still good. Yeah, you can pull out a Bebe's Kids reference. So the tweet of the week went to Devin. I want to thank everybody who was hanging out last night with us using the hashtag PFGOT. Just a couple of things some people were saying. So you can follow this guy at Respected Genius, but it's the I in genius is actually a lowercase l. So if you go to look it up spelling it the right way, you won't find it. But he actually writes for our website now. His name is Julius, and he's doing some really great coverage of video games. So you might want to follow him on Twitter. But he tweeted this the last tweet I got with our hashtag last night. He said, the Hound went out like a punk. Julius, I don't know that I agree with you. He did start begging. We didn't talk about that. He was like, do you want me to beg? And then he basically started begging, and she still didn't do it. So maybe, yeah, that's kind of being a punk, but I like it because it shows that he changed.
I sort of felt like I liked the fact that like he was willing to like die by her hand more than anyone else's.
I kind of took it, as like a sign of respect, right?
Yeah.
I think the fact that he wanted her to do it, and he's
like, remember what the heart is, right?
Mm-hmm. So,
and then she didn't do it, but not because she liked him, but because she didn't.
Exactly.
At the end,
she still had a score to settle, and it's almost like she like liked him, but like but that shit's not.
See, I don't think
that shit you did.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think that she would have like killed him in his sleep. Like, clearly she was willing, if Brienne had just turned around and said, fine, you can stay with him, I think she'd still be traveling with the Hound right now. Maybe he would die from his neck wound, but,
right.
But I think she was past that point, but like you said, she didn't like him enough to give him mercy. Like, she still felt like, yeah, you did some shit, you've protected me, you got me this far, but you still need to pay for the things you did.
That And your own terms.
Yeah. So I really like that. I like that kind of that shift in their relationship. So Duncan, you can follow at Duncan Powers on Twitter, and I believe this is also a new contributor to our site. She's going to be covering Dominion and my backup covering Defiance, where those shows kick off this week, and we're going to be covering them on Project Fandom. And I like this because she says, just me, or did Hodor look like he suddenly had his wits in the den of the Three-Eyed Crow? Did he?
I didn't notice.
That would be kind of cool. Like, if he goes in there and, like, whatever's going on in there, he can actually, like, say words.
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe this is when he's able to be like, hey, don't warg into me anymore.
Right.
Like,
yeah, so there's a whole, this was probably our busiest live tweet for the show that we did expect it because it's, the finale. So I want to thank everybody for that. We will be announcing the t-shirt winner on our end of season podcast that we're going to record later this week. I'm going to go straight to some Facebook feedback. Let's see. I'm sorry, guys, if I'm going to be talking faster than usual, but okay. So Rayanne says, hooray for patricide on Father's Day. I was hoping that would end the season. I thought that there were a couple of foreshadowing moments when Littlefinger had told Robin, like, all the different ways people could die, and he said people die on the privy. And I was like, oh, I see what you did there, show. And then there was, when Tyrion was talking about how there are all these different words for killing, members of your family or whatever, and he said patricide, and I was like, yeah, okay. So people who knew what was coming, we appreciated that little bit of stuff. But yep. And I thought this too. I couldn't say it to you guys. I was like, oh my God, Tyrion's going to kill Tywin on Father's Day when I realized the date. Remember, John, the other day I asked you when was Father's Day?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, right. And then when it hit me what would happen, but of course I couldn't tell you guys. So yeah, I thought that was kind of cute. So Donnie says, fuck the Iron Throne. Everyone needs to stay off the porcelain throne. It was a very good episode, but I was let down by Dany once again. The only thing I'm not clear on is if Arya is going to the Wall or Bravos. She gave the guy the coin, and it came off as if he would do anything she wanted. Yeah, I could see where you would think that because she, I don't know if I said this before, but she thought she was booking passage to the north. Like, she wanted to go up north. And he's like, I'm not going up north. And then when he told her where he was going, she gives him the coin. And then he's kind of like, you will get a cabin and anything you want. And, he was real accommodating. So I could see where somebody might be confused that maybe that meant, whatever this means, he's now willing to take her wherever she wants to go. But I think I hope this isn't spoiling. Like, she's going to Bravos. That's where the ship was going.
Wait, I thought that was very clear. Didn't he say he was going to Bravos?
No, but what he's saying is she asked him to take her up north, and he said no. Because she, for whatever reason, she thought the ship was going north, and that's where she wanted to go. Because she's trying to make her way to the Wall.
Right.
And then when he said it was Bravos, then she remembered she had the coin. Once she gave him the coin, the guy was like, okay, yeah, here, sure, have a cabin. So it could have been seen as him saying, oh, now I'll go where you want to go because you use the magic words.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So, and then he goes...
And I think she's going to fit right in at Bravos. That's going to be like... She's going home.
I am so glad she's alive, by the way. She has been consistently one of my favorite characters. When and if, and I know there's an if, she passes away, I'm going to lose my shit.
John, what is it about Bravos that you think, why do you say that? What is it that you think about Bravos that makes you say that she's going to fit in?
It's free. You're a free person there.
It seems like she's that,
You're free in Westeros.
But not really.
Are you really?
She's like the whole women can be swordsmen. Like that whole it feels like she's like progressive, and Bravos is progressive.
All right, fair enough. Mrs. Week says, happy fucking Father's Day. If I've learned one thing from last night's finale is that you better treat your kids right. To hell with the old folks home. The children of Westeros straight up kill their parents when they're not happy with them. Not that Tywin didn't have it coming, but why couldn't Tyrion save a bolt for Cersei's bitch ass? Seeing her drown in her own blood would have made my night. Jesus.
What's so funny is, though, I don't think that Tyrion would ever have killed Cersei. He would never have killed her.
I think, yeah, I don't think he would have ever done anything to hurt her or Tywin before the trial. Like, I think that's what changed everything.
Yeah.
Because he saw they were more than willing to kill his ass. And that's why I'm glad he didn't buy it because earlier in the same episode last night, Tywin said to Cersei, Tyrion's head comes off tomorrow. So, like, clearly he was going to go through with it. Okay, she says, this was another great episode, the best finale yet of the best season yet. Dany is so pointless and boring that I can't even with her. I'd rather 5 episodes at the wall than to see her brood and do nothing. When does she get cool again? Was I the only one who snickered by the scene between Jaime and Cersei? I almost projectile vomited all over my TV. Disgusting. I love the interactions between Jon and Mance and Stannis than Jon and Stannis. I'm finally seeing a bit of what Nina has been saying about Stannis, but he still needs to step up his game. Girl, wait. Come on. When he rode up on that motherfucking horse with that motherfucking Stannis music in the background.
With Davos?
Oh my God. Y'all don't even know. When those horns started and they were doing those aerial shots of like I was flipping out. My husband goes, is this what you were waiting for? I was like, yes, Stannis is the motherfucking man. And seriously, season 5 is going to be the season where people get it. I love Stannis. And let's face it, he is rightfully the one who's supposed to be on that throne right now. He is.
Yeah. I mean, like when we mentioned when Tywin was sitting on the throne and it was like he seemed to fit the throne. And I feel like Stannis is another guy. He's like Tywin. Yep, he fits the throne too. There's like 2 people on the entire show that really feel like they fit that throne, and Stannis is one of them.
And I feel
the only one left.
Yeah, exactly. And I like that he is like this is the second time now he's not afraid to like go into battle. Where you would see someone like Joffrey who would cower from it and have to be protected. Like, I love the fact that he puts himself out there and he really believes that he's the one that's supposed to do it. Now, whether or not he'd be a good king, I don't know. I think he's definitely better than any Lannister, but he has the, like Davos said a couple of weeks ago, more claim than any man on the planet. Like, it's supposed to be him. So, yeah, when he came riding up, I was hooping and hollering. My husband was like, Jesus, calm down.
After the last episode, though, I feel like Jon Snow is getting up there too, where he feels like he should be on the throne too, because he feels like
agree.
Yeah, he's a natural leader. It feels like to me.
So, all right, fuck it.
Nina struggles.
I'm struggling because this is what I do. When I know that there's something that has happened in the book that has not happened in the show, and it's like past a certain point, I just ask myself, do you think they're ever going to do it? And if I even think that it might be yes, I keep it to myself. So I'm going to keep this to myself. We'll talk about it in the spoiler section, guys. So, where are we? Okay, all season, this is still Mrs. Weeks. All season, I had so wanted Brienne and Pod to meet up with Arya and the Hound, but not like this. Subconsciously, I knew it had to happen, but still. I'm very happy Brienne came out of it okay, but I feel terrible about the Hound. So do I. I'm such a damn sap. I guess I have a thing for bad boys, huh? No, I think you just have a thing for people who are real and human and are allowed to be both good and bad, you know? And plus, he's fucking funny. Oh, my God. The funniest thing was when, like you said, John, where she was like, there are people coming. And then you didn't see anything or hear anything, and then she goes, you can shit later. There are people coming. So you're just like wondering, how close is he? Like, where is he taking this shit? And why is she just standing there while he's taking this shit? Okay, where were we? Oh, I knew Shay was a piece of shit, but I never suspected this. To call Tywin my lion, that stank hoe. Okay, so this is something I wanted to bring up, because I know it's okay to bring this up now. So in the books, I'm going to tell you, the reason that this was shocking to me was because in the books, and I could be wrong, and a book reader can correct me if I am, but the impression that I was left with once we got to this point in the book is that Tywin did not like whores. Like, not just that he didn't like that his son was fucking around with whores, but like he was kind of like, you know, like he just looked down, and he looked down on men.
Well, he's already been in the brothel, like with Oprah. Like, he didn't seem like it was like his thing.
Yeah, he just feel like
like.
But then even in the books, I think that they either imply or they say, like, he hasn't even been with anybody since his wife died in childbirth with Tyrion. Like, they just made the character the impression that I was left with by the time he died was that, or before he died, I should say, before I knew Shay was fucking him, was that the impression was that he was just somebody who just did, like, he loved his wife, he missed her dearly. He kind of like Cersei probably blamed Tyrion for doing that to, for being the cause of her death, and that he just did not like horse because he felt like he was above them. So when this happened, I was just for me, it was just like not just a betrayal to Tyrion, but like a betrayal of character. And I was like, holy fuck, this motherfucker, he's so fucking slimy. Like, like what a hypocrite.
Yeah.
It's like Shay got her hooks into him, and now he was convinced he was going to turn the hoe into a housewife.
Okay,
and the same way that Tyrion was.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's the other thing I wanted to bring up from this interview with George R. R. Martin. So when they asked him in the books, they said, and this, I don't remember this, that it wasn't clear if Tywin knew that Shay was a whore. So I don't remember that. I thought it was pretty clear that because she testified, like everybody knew who she was.
And Cersei said that at the wedding, right?
Right. So there was something where I'm trying to find it so I make sure that I'm reading it right. But they asked him that Tywin's hypocrisy when he finds her in his bed. Did Tywin know she was a prostitute? Because in the book it's not clear, or did he just not care? And George R. R. Martin said Tywin knew about Shay. He probably figured out she was the same camp follower that he expressly said, "You will not bring that whore to court." And then Tyrion defied him again and did bring that whore to court. As to precisely what happened here, that's something I don't really want to talk about because there's still aspects of it I haven't revealed that will be revealed in later books. But the role of Varys in all of this is also something to be considered. So I thought that was interesting because didn't we say, like, I think I said, why is nobody asking how the fuck she came to be there to begin with? Like, I don't understand why nobody thinks it's important, neither...
How she showed up.
Right! Like, somebody lied. So either Bran lied, but somehow she either didn't get on that ship, or she got on the ship when they... Yeah. So I just think this is so interesting to me that Tyrion... And that's why I said it just blew my mind that he did not ask Bran, I thought you said she got on the ship. Dude, she's the cause of him, like, totally blowing this, So... Anyway, I was shocked that he was in bed with a whore because I just got the impression that Tywin just didn't like whores, but I was wrong, apparently. So she goes on to say, I felt so bad for Tyrion. I'm so glad he offed his old dude, though. He had it coming, and I'm happy that in the end, Varys helped Tyrion, and that he's smart enough to know to get the hell out of Dodge. I'm with Donald on a couple of things. Where is Arya going? Where is Tyrion going? Do I have to finish the books? Well, I do have all summer. I can't wait for the podcast and what I'm going to do all summer with no podcast fandom. That's not the case. You don't have to worry about that. We will be covering shows this summer. And to answer your questions, I'm not sure where Tyrion is going. They just said that the ship was going to the Free Cities, and we know there's a ton of those. And I think we can assume that Arya is going to Bravos. So let's see. Okay, so Jose says... Are you not entertained? What a great way to end an awesome season. The Brienne and Arya scene was so good, I think some sand got in my eye at that moment. Seeing Arya smile, talking to Brienne, and rooting for her to just go with her. Then the Hound coming in and fucking it all up. Did you guys want her to go with Brienne, or did you want her to stay with the Hound?
I think it would have been okay either way. Because... I mean, like, the Hound brings up a good point. Like, where is safe? Because Brienne could keep her oath, quote unquote, but then what is she gonna do with it? Yeah, is she gonna stay with Arya forever?
Yeah, because they weren't really clear on that. Like, where's she supposed to go? So she goes, I don't blame him. She did look like a Lannister. She totally did.
She did.
And then
like Jaime was her daddy.
Oh.
What? He's the father of everybody in that family, apparently.
True. Shit, he might have more Lannister kids than Tywin. Okay, so then the fight, holy fucking shitballs. That was the best scene, in my opinion. The only thing that could have made it better would be him throwing a minge. No.
Oh, thank you.
Him throwing a minge reference. A little disappointed about the scene that wasn't there. Yeah, me too. But I'm getting over it. They've done more good than bad. I think the show is in good hands going forward. Can't wait for next season. Yeah. So, okay, I'm not going to read all of this. Sorry, you guys, because it's going so long and I still got to do a spoiler section. Tamala says, why is Cersei trying to save the mountain? Now that Tywin is dead, is she in charge? That's the first one I think is really interesting. I meant to ask you guys that. So, I felt like it was a little, I couldn't figure out, like, yeah, he kind of helped her be able to finally get rid of her brother, or so she thought. But did you guys buy her concern for the mountain?
Well, that's what I wonder. I'm like, why does she care? Like, is he going to be like her puppet, like mastermind, like killer, or like what?
Because
Now
doesn't she
he's
seem like? Don't you feel like Cersei is the type of character where you could? I think she could have just as easily been standing there covering her face with a handkerchief, saying, "Why the fuck am I in here? Like, why do I care?
yes,
Either kill
yes.
him or save him. I don't care, but get me out
I'm
of here."
not sure why they're trying to like even save him. Like
Yeah,
the job was done.
yeah.
Like they
So
got like they're Tyrion's like slated for death. Like the job is done. Why do you care if he survives?
yeah, I thought that was kind of weird, but okay. So then I'm going to go to our Facebook wall, and we had a little bit of feedback there, particularly from Shalita and Rosie. So I want to read that really quickly. So Rosie said, my nerd was showing last night. When Arya handed that coin over, it took all my strength not to stand up and fist pump. She told the Hound to kiss her ass with all that kill me bullshit. Bobo, you're on your own. Aw. Danny finally learned that free range parenting is not the way to go when your babies breathe fire and eat people. Duh. I felt bad for Tyrion, but that bitch had to go. Yet another fist pump moment for me. Great episode. Is it March 2015 yet? Willette says 2 words, fuck Shay. John, I think that was your reaction, right? She had it coming. She deserved it.
Yeah, I feel like she might as well kill her. Why not?
Okay, so Claire says,
I mean, that's the world that they live in, though. I mean, if Tyrion has to get revenge, then
There's
okay.
there's no reason for Shay to be alive.
yeah, she serves no other purpose going forward. Claire says, yeah, except for that one exclusion, I loved it. The Hound, Arya, and Brienne broke my heart. Maisie and Rory should win all the Emmys. I'm really interested to see how Brienne goes forward with this. I imagine it is going to hit her heart being so close to Arya and losing her like that. This is the first time I've watched the show after reading the books. It takes some adjustment because of expectations. And I enjoy most of the deviations from the source. Brienne meeting Arya and Varys going with Tyrion, for example. Yeah, that's right, because in the books, Varys doesn't get on the thing with Tyrion. So, Tormund at the Castle Black as a captive. Yeah. Also, John and Melisandre, can't wait to see where that goes. I'm going to rewatch it tonight without expectations and just enjoy it. Yeah, that's the good way to put it. When I watched it the second time without waiting for the thing, I was able to appreciate that it was pretty fucking good and just got over myself. Devin says, what a finale. It was truly the right way to end the best season of Game of Thrones yet. The way Jon and Mance reminisced about their fallen friends was truly touching. I also have to give a shout out to Stannis Baratheon for not just saying he is the king, but proving it by saving the Night's Watch asses. Exactly. John's wake for Ygritte was truly beautiful and a fitting way to say goodbye to his ginger minge. See, that's for you, Nina. Yeah, thanks, Devin. He goes, the episode continued to say, fuck you and your feels by the entire segment in Marine. From the old man saying Danny's soup kitchens were not enough for him, and then that he would rather be with his massa than free, to the heartbreaking revelation of Drogon's badass roasting this little girl. I honestly don't know what it says about me that the absolute toughest thing to watch this season was when Danny locked up Rhaegal and Viserion for their brother's actions. That's the thing. I was like, these poor guys didn't do shit, and they're Drogon is still out in them streets. He goes, it seemed like they were screaming mama as she left him. I've been waiting so long for Tyrion's escape and was so happy to finally see it on the screen, and although there were some differences, I refuse to be one of those book readers and who bitch about every damn change. My favorite part was when Varys realized what happened and made a smooth turnaround. That was great. Did you guys get that's what happened? Like, he was ready to go back and then he heard them bells?
Mm.
Yeah, I love it. He was like, oh, fuck. Where are we? Lastly, Brienne versus the Hound. What a match. Both got their blows in, but when Brienne decided to go all Rick Grimes on Sandor's ear, I was done. And Arya continued to keep it G, as she always does, by not giving the Hound mercy and taking the silver because a dead man doesn't need it. Exactly. And finally, Shalita said, loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. The only thing I didn't like was Egret's funeral. Was that really necessary? I really liked that. I really, really liked that. I didn't really care for her overall or the relationship, but I thought that was sweet. She says, I loved everything.
I could have done without it. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't. It wasn't necessary.
No, it wasn't. But what I thought was interesting was that we saw John cry, because he was totally crying at the end, right?
It was sad. It was very sad.
Yeah, I liked it. So she says, loved everything else. The scenes at King's Landing and the Brienne Pod Arya Hound scenes were my faves. I legit cackled when Tyrion caught Tywin on the toilet. Oh my God. What an inglorious way for someone like Tywin to go. Yeah, that's pretty bad. Loved it. And that bitch Shay. Nina, is it revealed in the books how long she was working for Tywin? Like, did this come about after Tyrion tried to put her on the ship? Or was this something she was doing from the jump?
That's a really great question.
That is a really good question. And the funny thing, the fact that George R. R. Martin won't even talk about it tells me that there's still some shit out there, which is crazy because they're both dead. Like, they're dead in the books and they're dead. But I don't know how anything would come out. But the fact that he doesn't want to talk about it, who knows what the fuck that man has planned. So to answer your question, yeah, it's not really clear. My assumption is the way we're all taking it is that something happened from the moment he dismissed her and told her to get on that ship till the end. I thought it started there, but who knows? So where are we? Oh, like she was his spy the whole time she was with Tyrion. That bitch, she never really loved him. The fight between Brienne and the Hound was amazing. One of the best fights ever on the show. And she kicked his ass. But what do y'all think about Arya leaving him to die? My coworker says she loved and respected the Hound, and that's why she didn't kill him. Oh, no. That's not what I got.
Yeah, I think it's the complete opposite of that. I mean, it's like she respected him. I think she respected him, but like we said, she wasn't going to mercy kill him. Like, she was going to let him die.
She was like, you know what? This is your just dessert. Like, you're going to die, and I'm not going to change that. Like, you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when he did teach her, that's where the heart is. When they killed that other guy, and he was like, "That's a good death," and like she's not going to give the Hound a good death. She's not going to do that.
And I'm not happy that he's dead or possibly dead, but I'm still saying that, like, you know, in Arya's defense, like maybe this was the best way for him to go.
Yeah, you sweet summer children. I love how hopeful you are.
I'm gonna punch you in the face.
Okay. So I say if she truly did love and respect him, she would have put him out of his misery to end his suffering. Exactly. She never did take him off her list. And I forgot the part with the mountain. Is he going to be Frankenstein's monster now or something? That's
a really weird, like, Pet Cemetery vibe. I was like, what? The soil is, like, sour. What's going on?
Yeah, I feel like it's weird because that's like a lot of people's speculation that that's what's going to happen. Like the fact that he said, he's going to come back stronger, but he's real different. And if that's the case, I don't know what it says about me that I feel like that's a bridge too far. Like, I can take White Walkers and dragons, but I don't want to see a Frankenstein's monster in my Game of Thrones, you know? Like, John, what do you think? Would you be okay if he turned out to be like a Frankenstein?
I mean, it depends what kind of Frankenstein. I mean, if it's like the Frankenstein we got in American Horror Story, then no, because I don't want an emo Frankenstein. But yeah. But I mean, like, if it is like if he turns out to be kind of like Hodor, where he can't really communicate, but he's just a strong guy who can help you do things.
Well, it was so weird that she said he wouldn't be like weaker. So what if it's like this muscle mass of like pain and destruction? Like, I just don't
Cersei would love that. Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, but how does that serve her?
I don't know.
Like, it makes no sense to me at this point. It will make sense next season, but at this point, I'm like, what does she going to? You know, where does she profit from this?
Yeah.
So we'll see.
If that's the case, like I said, I don't know how I feel about it because I just feel like that's just a step too far. I'd rather them bring in some fucking leprechauns than bring in I don't know, sure. Or vampires. So she goes, so how creeped out should I be about the way Melisandre was checking out Jon, and what do you think will happen to Mance and Tormund? I think you should be somewhat concerned, just because I think she's, you know, I don't trust Melisandre at all. And as far as Mance and Tormund, I don't know. It wasn't clear to me they're prisoners, but do you think they brought them through the tunnel? Are they like all those people being held at the castle somewhere, or are they all prisoners on the other side of the wall? Because I would imagine that Stannis isn't going to want to keep his guys over there guarding them if White Walkers are coming.
Well, they can't be through the tunnel because
I don't know.
the, well,
Yeah, that's. I mean, where the fuck do you put 100,000 prisoners? Like, so I don't know. To answer your question, I honestly don't know. So how crazy is Cersei about to get now that her daddy is gone? Is she going to know it was Jaime who let Tyrion go? Is she going to care now that their father is dead? Well, she did say in this episode she doesn't love her father. Did you catch that? Do you think she meant
yeah,
that?
I don't think she gives a shit. I think that she's ready to like be done.
Okay. Who will be the hand of the king now, and how much trouble will the Lannisters be in with the Iron Bank now that Tywin isn't there to
Now,
protect
can
them?
she remake Jaime the Hand of the King? Because that would be my first guess. Like if he was the Hand of the King for Tommen.
I don't think so. I'm not saying that
Okay.
she probably would. Honestly, I'm not saying that she probably wouldn't try, because I do think that she's all about, protecting him on that
Right.
throne, but I don't know that she
Yeah.
can unless he gives up his,
Okay.
King's
All right.
Guard. So, oh, and then how will the Lannisters, how much trouble will the Lannisters be in with the Iron Bank now that Tywin isn't there to protect them? That's a very, 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 very good question. Especially since we saw what the Iron Bank has now financed going on north of the Wall. I mean,
Yes.
so, Stannis spent that money well. Like,
And this has like 25,000 members ready to take your ass down.
yeah, they gave him a big payday loan. So,
Yeah.
I have no idea what the fuck is
And
going
did
on.
people realize like that's where his army came from? Like, did they?
Well, see, I put in my recap that I thought it was the Golden Company, and I don't know, I don't know if that's like what happens in the book, but I just remembered that Davos was telling him we need to stop looking west and we need to look
Right.
east, and we get the money, we buy 10,000 from the Golden Company, and Stannis kind of turned up his nose at sellsword. So I'm assuming if they got the money, that's what they did, because
All
that
right.
was a lot of motherfuckers. So
Yeah, that was a lot.
la, 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 la. I have no idea what the fuck is going on with Bran and them. I love it, Bran and them. But that was a cool fight scene. Curious to see where that storyline is going. But if he's going to be able to fly via the dragons, he needs to take Drogon over right now. Drogon needs to be warged into, because he's gone around killing babies. Yeah, how old was that kid? That was like a baby, right?
3 years old.
I think they said she was 3. Yeah.
3.
Jeez. Oh man. Yeah, he gone around killing babies, and poor Jojen, he was getting sicker and sicker. I think he knew he wouldn't make it there alive. Excellent finale. Can't wait to see what Arya gets into in Bravos, and I can't wait to hear your podcast. Thanks for a great season. Can't wait to hear the new ones y'all are starting. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, even with some editing, this one's going to be a long one, so I'm going to just jump right into the iTunes review that we got. I want to thank everybody for listening. As always, we really appreciate it. And if you appreciate what we do, we could really use some iTunes reviews. It is the single best way to help us find new listeners.
Yeah.
And Steph gave us a new review, 5 stars on June 10th. It's called, it's subject, no, so much fun, 5 stars by Steph Knows Something. She says, I love this crew. Nina, John, and Meghan are dedicated, enthusiastic, and super funny. They are true fans and obviously love what they do, and it comes through in the podcast. They always
Aw.
they always leave me in stitches, and I look forward to their podcasts every week. I listen to their cast for Game of Thrones, The Walking Dead, and American Horror Story, and it has become a part of my whole TV fangirl experience. I'm going to stop right here. I appreciate you saying that, because that is the purpose of the site. That is the message of the site.
It's we have so much fun doing it, to like have like that feedback is amazing.
Yeah, seriously. And I know that there are, of course, hundreds of websites out there talking about like the same stuff that we talk about. But I think what sets us apart is just us being unapologetically fangirls and fanboys for some of this stuff, and really enjoying it and love talking about it with other people. So I'm so glad that you include us in your fangirl experience. And she goes on to say, this group is also very interactive on social media, which I truly love. Yay, we are. They are fully immersed in TV fandoms and are fun and unpretentious. Keep up the awesome work, Steph. Thank you, Steph, so much. So you see how easy that is? You take 2 minutes, you go to iTunes, you leave us a 5-star review. We will read it on the air. Simple. And it helps us out. We are also on Stitcher, and we could use some reviews there as well. I'm going to close us out before I jump into my spoiler section. I think that, let me just remind you guys how the wrap-up cast thing that we're doing at the end of the week is going to go. So there's going to be a poll on Facebook that I'm going to encourage you guys to really go through and answer the questions. There are going to be a lot of fun questions about this season. So answer that, and then we will read the results on the podcast that we're going to record, I think, like Friday night. Please send in feedback about the season as a whole. Tell us what you loved, what you hated. I want some predictions for season 5, some death predictions. Send all of that in.
But also no predictions that include book spoilers.
Right.
Because
I was
just
going to say, send all of that in to projectfandom@gmail.com. If you do have book spoilers that you want to talk about, from the season as a whole, or predictions for season 5, send them to Nina@projectfandom.com, and Natasha and I will read them in the spoiler section for our end of season review podcast that we're doing at the end of the week. And speaking of predictions, John, Meghan, I didn't get yours on Facebook and write it down, so please forgive me. I'm so sorry, because John, you weren't in the last podcast. John was, and I had asked him to give me some death predictions for this season finale.
Oh, my God.
So, John.
I'm glad John was there, because I would not have been up for that, because my heart was my throat the entire episode.
John, I think I asked you the fate of 27 characters, and you predicted that, let me tell you, I'm just going to say what you got right, because it's too long. You said Tywin would die, and he did.
You did?
Yeah, I'm so glad that I did that, too.
Oh my God.
Listen, when he did it, I had asked him, John, Dany, Cersei, Jaime, Tyrion. He said, no. And I said, Tywin. And he said, yes. I was like, is this motherfucker spoiled? Did he get sullied? I thought that was such a bold prediction to make.
Honestly, I think it came after I had already said no to so many, like you said, and I was like, fine, I'll just say yes. So I didn't really predict it. I just kind of
I really did not think Tywin would die, so that's pretty amazing.
Yeah. I'm just saying the people that he said would die. He said Brienne would die, and she didn't. Okay. He said Robin.
For a minute, I was like, maybe Brienne's gonna die. I'll be right.
The Hound did beat the shit out of her. So.
Yeah. He said Robin would die, and he didn't. Not that we know of. We didn't get any Robin or Littlefinger or Sansa this episode. We also didn't get any Ramsay, Reek, and the Bolton. So right. He said the Hound would die, and he did. Damn, John.
No, he did not.
All right, I'm sorry. Maybe. You want me to put a question mark?
I would like that.
He said Jorah would die.
Either way, I win.
True. Yeah, I couldn't participate.
I really want to see Jorah soon. I really do.
Yeah, I don't know where the fuck he is. He said Davos would die, and he didn't. He said Melisandre would die. Now I just think you were fucking with me.
Oh, I never thought Melisandre would die.
Yeah, honestly, it was by that point I was just kind of going yes, no.
Yes, no. Maybe. I don't know. I'm kind of tired. I'm really bored.
He said Mance would die, and he didn't. And he said the Mountain would die, and he didn't. So, Mountain's still alive. They're going to rebuild him.
Mountain. Yeah, he's going to be like the $6 billion man, but he is going to kind of die. So I'm going to count that as half a point.
Yeah, he comes back as a Frankenstein.
Hey, you can't say that unless you know something. So stop it.
Who, me?
That the Mountain will possibly die. Like I thought he was still alive, but like.
Well, that's the thing. I don't know. We're like, I think for me, I feel like what Qyburn said really does. Like, I think we're supposed to piece together that he's going to do something to him where he's not technically dead. Like, I'm assuming he's going to be up and walking around, but he's going to be vastly different. And for me, that feels like a Frankenstein thing.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
Yeah, to me, that's what I meant.
I mean, it was clearly a bloodletting for him. So
yeah. I feel like that was like implied.
He's going to be a different person. So I mean, he's going to technically he's not going to die, but he's kind of going to die.
Right.
He's going to be a big knitter now.
Wouldn't that be something like he comes back? And he's totally like all docile.
He's not like the mountain. He's like the valley.
Yeah. What if he comes back and he goes try to find his brother because he wants to like beg for his forgiveness. He's a completely like changed man. Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
That's not gonna happen.
Okay. All right. Well, that's it. That's all we got for you guys. You can find us on Twitter at Project Fandom and at ProFanMan. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Project Fandom. The website is Project Fandom. We are currently looking for new writers and contributors. We just, like I said, got 2 people to join us in the past week, and so far they've been amazing, and I'm super excited that they joined us. And I think they only did so because we kind of asked for help on our podcast, so I'm going to do this every now and again.
It's been great, yeah.
Yeah, so we could totally use some new writers. It's not a paying gig, but you do get to hang out with us online and talk about TV and movies and books and shit. You get free stuff that you can review for the website. And if you are a convention goer and you're into that kind of stuff, we get press passes to conventions all over the country. And the only condition is, you have to cover it for the site by writing really good quality content about your experience there and taking some kick-ass pictures and videos. So, so if you're interested, just send us an email at projectfandom@gmail.com and say that you're looking to write for us and tell us what you're into, and we'll see if we can find a spot for you. So that's it. I'm going to get this bad baby edited, do my spoiler section, and don't forget, we'll be back at the end of the week with a end of the season 4 review cast with John, myself, and Meghan, and Natasha from Unspoiled. So we'll see you at the end of the week. Hey guys, it's me. Well, clearly it's me. No one else does the spoiler section. This is our next to last spoiler section for the season. I'm kind of sad about that. So I'm in my bedroom, not the bathroom this week. I have on the AC because it's hot as balls, and I'm really hoping that it doesn't disturb you guys with sound because it's hot as fuck and I don't want to turn it off. But you know what? I'm going to turn it off because I want to apologize for, let me turn it off. Hold on. I'm going to apologize for the echoing that went down. We record using Skype, which is really our only option because John and Meghan live in Massachusetts and Georgia, and I'm in Oregon, and it's really the cheapest, because it's free, way for us to do it. And, I think Meghan has a MacBook, so she could maybe use GarageBand, but it would just be too difficult for us to figure it out any other way. So I was just saying the other day that Skype has been really good to us this season because we used to have a lot of problems with it. It was really unreliable a few months ago. But for the Game of Thrones podcast and for our Throwback Thursday podcast, it's been pretty fucking reliable. And of course I say that, and then we go to record Game of Thrones the next day and Skype is an asshole. So I'm really sorry about the echo. Okay, so let's get to the spoiler section. Because as soon as I'm done recording this, I'm going to upload it because it's late. It's like 10:30 a.m. Pacific time on Tuesday, and it should be up by now. So let me go start with Devin's email. I'm sorry. Let me just start by saying how I'm so disappointed that Lady Stoneheart was excluded. I can't remember who wrote in the email a couple of weeks ago, and I was saying how they have to include her, right? And it was like, I feel like we shouldn't even be talking about this because, like, the more we talked about it, the more I thought, well, shit, maybe they won't. And they didn't. And I'm really fucking bummed. I am so fucking bummed. I am more bummed than I was last season when it ended with all them brown people hoisting Dany up on their fucking shoulders and that music played and then it goes out to the sky, this aerial shot of those fucking dragons and no Lady Stoneheart. I was gonna lose my shit last season. This season, I thought I was gonna cry. I was just not happy. But I think that it's probably for the best for a couple of reasons. One, I'm just going to keep it real. These next 2 books are not nearly as good as the first 3. They're just not. I don't feel like there are any big events. I feel like there's going to be a lot of new people introduced. I don't think that people are going to care about a fucking... there's the Targaryen baby that really didn't die, and then there's the Martell that wants to marry Dany, and... right? I think it was a Martell, that Quentin, right? That they were going to try to get. And I just feel like it's going to feel like it came out of left field to a lot of people who watch the show who didn't read the books. They're not going to care. Um, and I just hope the show can do a good job making non-book readers care about these new characters. But so when they die, or when one of them ends up dying, there's the whole thing with Tyrion. I think there was a chapter that ends with him falling in the water, and we thought that he was going to be dead, but then it's kind of like, yeah, they haven't killed Tyrion by now, they're not going to. The whole thing with the Tyrion meeting up with the little people, the Penny, I think her name, like, I don't want to see that shit. I'm just being honest. So I feel like Lady Stoneheart will be a really kind of fresh shot of adrenaline for storylines that I think are not as compelling as what we've had so far. That's just my opinion. Also, I think there might need to be a little bit more of a build up, because I'm just so kind of disappointed how many show watchers just forget shit. Like, I honestly think if you ask people who haven't read the books, who are the Brotherhood without banners, who's Beric Dondarrion, who's Thoros of Myr, like, they probably won't remember. So I think you do need to understand who they are and what they do, and the god that they pray to, like Melisandre, to really appreciate what it is that happened to Catelyn. So, yeah. All right, let's get to the emails, because this is already long as fuck. Okay, Devin, I started my feedback by giving the show its just due, but now that we are in the spoiler section, I can voice my true feelings by saying I don't give a dusty fuck about most book things, but how do you not end with Lady Stoneheart? This amazing episode would have been hands down the best with a 10-second reveal. I read an Entertainment Weekly story that said basically they never planned to and they didn't have time, but if they would have just ended last episode with the Stannis rescue, that leaves plenty of time in the finale. I actually had the discussion with someone who said maybe they skip it altogether, but if that's the case, why show us what Thoros has been doing with Beric? It really doesn't make any sense to me, and I would really like to hear your thoughts on it. Yeah, I agree. Like, the fact that they set that whole thing up, that whole resurrection stuff, it tells me that they're gonna do it. I just really thought this has been such a good season, and they know it. They have to know how good this season was. They have to know, like they were saying, how it's the best finale. Yeah, they know the product they've been putting out. They know how good it is. I don't know. I don't know if I would have been able to resist putting that in there to just blow people's fucking minds. But again, in retrospect, do they have to do that? No. Like, people are watching. They got their highest numbers yet this season. People are going to come back. I don't think they needed to do it to bring people back. So I understand why they didn't. They didn't really need to. And yeah, I do hope, though. Oh, and the other thing that to tell you what I really think the real issue is we haven't seen that much of her in the book. So I have a feeling that if another book doesn't come out between now and next season, which I can't imagine that it wouldn't, like, what the fuck is he doing? But if not, you reveal her at the end of this season, and then what? You know, people are going to tune into season 5 and want to see more of her and have questions. And if there's no material there, then you show her, and then we don't see her most of season 5. And then you have the thing where Brienne sees her, but then what? Because we don't really know much after that. You know what I'm saying? So it may just be, why reveal something that maybe they don't want to surpass the books in that regard with this character. So I understand that. Okay, Devin also says, how do you like the changes to Tyrion's escape? I didn't really mind the Tysha stuff, but I was surprised it wasn't there, because it always felt to me, as I read it, that Tyrion and Jaime parting on those bad terms seemed really important. I actually hated that in the books. I hated the fact that he confessed that. I hated the fact that Tyrion was petty and then, confessed to killing Joffrey when he didn't. I have a feeling that the divide between Jaime, I like the idea that Jaime and Cersei are, like, quote unquote reconciled, right? And I think we know next season she's just going to go batshit insane. And I like him doubting her and leaving her being something he does of his own accord, rather than having these lies or some truths that Tyrion lashed out at him with be the thing that kind of echoes in his head. And I'm really, really, really happy we're not going to have the whole where do whores go, because that shit was ridiculous. So, yeah, and I just have a feeling, that, like I said in the main part of the cast, if he would have been like, oh, Taisha really did love you, I guarantee you like 90% of the viewing audience who hadn't read the books would look at each other like, who? Why the fuck do we care about this? And it would have felt like they were breaking apart one of the best relationships on the show over something and someone that didn't matter to show watchers. So, he goes on to say, as far as Shay the funny whore, I didn't get the part where she reached for a knife to kill him, but I like the result was the same in the books. No more Shay. I am telling you guys, I seriously think that they had her do that to give people something to hold on to so that we would view what Tyrion did as not that bad. And I don't think they needed to do that, but I guarantee you that's why they did it. I guarantee you that they want people to hold on to that, to say, well, if she hadn't grabbed that knife, he wouldn't have jumped on the bed. But I really do think that he's responsible for his own actions, and that even the fact that the choking, like he grabbed it, like when he's like trying to fight her off. And I think that her knocking him on the floor and it being him just having to hold on to it, like I really feel like they're trying to give the character an out in a way. But I mean, after her neck cracked, he still kept tugging and squeezing. So that says to me, like, he knew what the fuck he was doing. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with, like I said, good characters can do shitty things and vice versa. And I think that's more interesting than trying to make excuses for a good person doing something bad. You know, I think most of us are good people and we still do things that we shouldn't. So, another thing I didn't see coming was the whole Cersei Jaime reconnection. I thought after she threatened to go all TMZ on Tywin that we would get the part in the books where she dick shames Jaime and then he would go save Tyrion. But I guess I'll see that next season. And again, I do like that he saved his brother, not to get back at Cersei, but because it was the right thing to do and because of his feelings for Tyrion. So I'm happy with that change as well. He goes on to say, I can't wait to hear your thoughts on the changes and hear your predictions on next season, like Sam going to Old Town, Arya's adventure in Bravos, how they will show Dorne and the Sand Snakes. What about one of my favorite characters, Arianne Martell, and lastly, the Greyjoys. Will there be a Kingsmoot? I really hope there's not a Kingsmoot. I'm so over the Greyjoys and even the Reek stuff to some degree. I just don't give a fuck about the Greyjoys at this point, but we'll see. They have to shave that down somehow. And I really hope, my one prediction for next season is that in a way, I want to see the immediate aftermath of Tywin's death. Like, I like the stuff with his body, like, stinking and Cersei, you know, being upset, like, because they're going to discover Shay's body in the bed. I would imagine that's stuff that they probably already filmed, if we're going to see that, because it makes no sense to bring back, you know, these actors just to have their corpses for maybe the first episode, right? But at the same time, the Bravo stuff, I really hope that it kind of just jumps into Arya. I don't know if I'm explaining it right. Like, I want them to accelerate the Arya storyline a little bit, but at the same time, I don't want them to jump ahead because I want to see the immediate aftermath to Tywin's death. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, so what else do I have? I had a lot of. So Tamala says, hi Nina, since the Mountain and the Viper episode, something has really been making me twitchy. When Theon and Reek spoke to the sick guy and he spat on them, wasn't that bloody spit contagious? I mean, it was obvious there was something going around, and then Ramsay's men skinned them. That's a big ass open sore. Do the Boltons now have the plague? Thanks, Tammy. Do the Boltons now have the plague? I hope so. I know there's something about an illness. Let me just say that. I feel like, Tammy hasn't read the book. She's already listening to the spoiler section, so fuck it. I'm just going to be honest here. I know that there's a prediction from Melisandre. She tells Jon that his sister, or maybe he assumes it's going to be his sister, but no, I think she says it's going to be Arya, is going to arrive on a pale mare, a dying girl on a pale mare, or something like that. And I do think that there is this sickness that the girl ends up being the girl who they were going to pass off as Arya, so that Ramsay could marry her to get, to solidify their hold on the North and Winterfell in particular. So they're going to try to pass off some girl as Arya. I think it's going to be the girl that was fucking him, but we'll see. I can't see them introducing somebody else that we don't even know. Or that the show hasn't introduced us to, because in a book it is a character we've seen before. But anyway, and I do think that she has the sickness that was brought from Moat Cailin, I think. So another book reader can enlighten you. If you have better information, just send it to me, my private email, and I'll read it in the spoiler section for our end of season podcast later in the week. Let's see, Claire. So Claire was listening to my spoiler section last time, and she wrote me and she said, I'm listening to your spoiler section now and I want to put in my 2 cents. Like you, I so want Lady Stoneheart to be the final scene, and I think it should be the phrase, mostly because I want Brienne and Pod to encounter the Gravedigger on the Quiet Isle, and the Hound has a ways to go before he gets there. Agreed. But we didn't get what we wanted, Claire, because fuck the world. Okay, I'm trying to get over it. Claire continues, then again, they could have that reveal via another character next season. As a book reader and a show watcher, I keep reflecting in the oath Brienne and Catelyn exchanged after Renly's assassination and how tragic it was under the circumstances. It would be a holy shit season-ending scene, but it also feels like their story deserves more build-up before it gets to that point. So let me just say, when the Brienne Hound fight was happening, I was like, yeah, okay, great, Lady Stoneheart, and I was right, it's going to be the phrase, because I can't see them doing more with Brienne. Like, she got her ass kicked, like, that was enough. Yeah, totally didn't happen. Claire says, I tell you what, though, if Previously On has a B and C pledging their oaths to each other, you know it's going down, and it will be Brienne. If it's Sansa talking about what they did to her mother and brother, it will be the Brotherhood Without Banners and a fray. It's got to happen either way, right? Oh man, I can't wait. As always, great podcast, Claire. Yeah, Claire, no, we got fucked. And I thought about you when they did the Previously On and they didn't show either of that shit. I was like, no, please don't let this mean what I think it means. And it did, because they fucked us. And I think I wrote Claire back. I said, if this doesn't happen, I'm going to lose my entire shit. You'll hear me from your house and feel my wrath on Twitter. They better not let us down. And that's exactly what they did. Claire also wrote in to say, hi, Nina. I've been noticing a lot of people have had the same reaction to the Maester Aemon Sam scene in The Watchers on the Wall, not really seeing much of a point to it. This is what I think it was about, and I can't say anything on most forums because it's a spoiler. I think they're setting up Jon sending Sam and Maester Aemon to Old Town next season because Stannis and Melisandre are going to want to burn Aemon for his king's blood. I bet money that the part where he was talking about being next in line to the Iron Throne will be seen Previously On before Jon sends them off next season. Claire. Yeah, I really liked Claire's take on that. I think she's right. And I still think that there's something about her wanting the daughter to be there, and that whole her telling the mother, Melisandre telling the mom, yeah, you know what needs, you're a true believer and you don't need tricks. Even if the truths are hard truths, you do what needs to be done for the, the Lord of Light or whatever, that whole thing. And I think when that's my son screaming like a maniac in the background. I do think that when she told that to her and told her to look in the fire, I really do feel like her saying that little girl has to be there is because she's going to want to sacrifice her. And I'm wondering if it's going to be a little bit of what I'm thinking and what Claire's thinking, where Stannis is not about that life. And he's like, I don't care. We need to find some more King's blood somewhere else. And then that's when somebody or somehow it comes out who, Maester Aemon is. Although I'm sure Stannis already knows. And maybe then that'll be Stannis's idea and he runs it by Jon, and Jon is like, yeah, no, fuck that. And he sends them off. Because they're clearly not doing the shit with the baby being important, because we haven't even met Mance's woman. I don't think they're going there. So, one last thing I wanted to bring up, and please write me and let me know, and I'll bring it up in the spoiler section of the other podcast. But I was talking to Natasha from Unspoiled about this, and a lot of people really like Tormund. They like the character, even though he's on like the opposing side of what we're supposed to be rooting for. But we really like the character. We like the actor. And I seem to remember in the books that they're going to kill Mance, right? They're going to burn him. And he's going to be screaming. And something that he screams doesn't really make sense, like in retrospect to Jon. So when he finds out that they didn't kill Mance, that it was actually Tormund in Mance's body, and Tormund is now carrying around Mance in his body, and then they send him off with those spearwives, I think, to go infiltrate the north, like what Ramsay is doing, right? I think that's how it happens. So in the book, I think Natasha was saying it was like the Lord of Bones or somebody like that it's not Tormund in the book. So I'm thinking that's what they're going to do. I don't know why my son is screaming. I'm sorry. I'm almost done. I really think that they're going to burn the actor playing Mance, but the character of Mance will still be around in the guy who is playing Tormund. And that's a way to keep around an actor that people really like, and quote, in a way, a character people really like, and get rid of somebody who I think in name and in stature is bigger than what the show has done. Like the King Beyond the Wall and Mance Raider, and we heard all this shit about him. They cast him, and we've seen him like in maybe 4 scenes tops in the whole series. So, okay, that's it. That's all I got. Thanks for writing in, you guys. I had a really good time this season. I am so sorry this is so long. I'm so sorry the quality wasn't up to what we normally do. I've really been trying to figure out a way to have a backup to Skype if Skype goes down, but I haven't found one yet. So hopefully it won't happen as much or ever again. But yeah, please send in your thoughts on this episode and the Lady Stoneheart stuff and some predictions for season 5. Take our poll, which I'm going to link when this podcast goes up. And join us this weekend. We'll be releasing a podcast of me, John, Megan, and Natasha from Unspoiled, talking about season 4 as a whole and making some predictions for season 5. See you at the end of the week, guys.